Hello and welcome to Bunto's Great Debate Spectacular, number 200,074, 356 Hangout. I'm your host, Bunto Skiffler, and gosh, if God was real, he'd be quite envious. I have a great panel tonight. We're going to be talking about a variety of subjects. I have Brojo, Jeff Keller, Lursa Dust, Pyong, Saint Tommy, and Thelden the Smasher, and I'm your host, Bunto. Well, let's go ahead and start with a somber note about, if you have not heard about how the media is portraying this atheist who executed 3 students in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. It's a truly tragic event. Pyong, can you bring us, please, up to speed?
Well, I frankly don't know all of the details. I know that you have 3 young people that were murdered. I know that the fella turned himself in. You know,
Mm-hmm.
there's little or no there's no doubt that the guy did it.
Right.
The people that he killed were some young people in the area, and they were Muslims of Arab descent. But I honestly I don't know everything there is to know
Right.
about
It's
what
just
happened.
developing. It happened on Monday, I believe, right? Okay. The story is developing. Can anybody detect bias in the way that the media is developing this story? Lyrics?
I
Anybody's?
recognize it. I
Oh,
think
go,
it's
Yeah, there's definite
anything to.
bias.
go ahead. Oh, I'm sorry. Who was speaking? Lyrics?
No, Idle, go ahead, sir.
Go ahead.
Oh, it was. I noticed that they, from what I've noticed in the media on this particular subject, they just want to stir up some stuff. You know what I mean?
They want to catch an angle. They want something that's going to stick with the people,
Mm-hmm.
with the viewership, and they've
But
decided atheism or not.
I
Anyone?
don't see. I don't see. Well, in the article I read, didn't mention that the shooter was an atheist. I don't know
Okay.
about anywhere else.
I think it's more anti-Muslim than atheist.
All right.
It depends on what source. You know, the New York Times, for example, this article I'm looking at right now for the New York Times says in Chapel Hill shooting of 3 Muslims, a question of motive. In the body of the article, they do talk about how the shooter, the murderer, was had these atheist ideas that he posted on Facebook. But that's not as extreme as some of the titles that I've seen. Reuven posted or shared publicly a title of an article that said, "Anti-theist slays Muslims, media ignores the story."
My goodness, yes. I've sort of picked up the vibe that there is bias. You know, that finally we've had enough of Muslims attacking like the Charlie Hebdo, and maybe the Christians attacking the abortion clinic. So now they've got an atheist, retaliating against religion, and they want to see how that sticks up against the wall. Now, right now, I mean, we can safely assume that this guy is just a wacko who is, what I heard is that he was a second rights amendment advocate. Has anybody else heard that? A gun nut.
Yeah, that was in the article I read. So they could be coming at it at that angle as well.
Right. But the atheists now have just detected that the media is going with the fact that this guy was a self-proclaimed atheist. Now, that is an important fact to bring out, don't you all believe? Or is it a non-factor? Shouldn't even be mentioned.
Yeah, I think the whole atheist Muslim thing really shouldn't matter. The fact that they bring up one or the other or both is proof that they're just trying to stir up something.
Okay, now suppose this guy was a hardcore Christian. What we want to know?
No, not really. It was over a parking dispute, if I remember correctly.
Right.
Maybe he felt, I don't know. I think that the fact that they bring up the fact that they're Muslim or atheist, it shouldn't matter in law.
Right.
Unless it said, death to your God, and then kills you. Then maybe the atheist thing might make sense to bring up.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, the media is fishing around for something.
Yeah, I just want to kind of agree with James here. I mean, ultimately it shouldn't matter who did the killing and who they killed and what their beliefs were. This is why I take issue a little bit with the whole idea of a hate crime kind of adding on to the sentence. You know, a murder is a murder. No matter who they are. That's how I see it. I don't know.
Pyong?
Yeah, I do agree with that as a practical matter, John. And one of the reasons is I think that if you might say, the derivative cause of action of hate crime is largely political. I think that it's something that also, as a practical matter, shifts the jurisdiction away from local and state authorities to, like, the DOJ. Okay, so it's under federal law. But ultimately, this is a situation, and I think you have the motivation for doing that was that some of these laws weren't being enforced because of local prejudice or deference of local law enforcement officers to offenders. That's clearly not the case in this situation. I mean,
Okay.
they're going to handle it. I'd say something else too, as far as a hate crime goes. There's no question that this individual probably was not motivated by a lack of belief to go and kill religious people. Now, that's not to say that he didn't hate Muslims. He very well could have. But from my understanding, the threshold of considering something a hate crime can be achieved by simply uttering a pejorative as you commit the crime. You see what I'm saying?
Interesting.
So it's an extremely low threshold to attain. Now,
Okay, 1 second, Pion. That's really
yeah,
interesting. We'll come back to it in a sec. Jeff, you had something to add?
Yeah, I was just trying to. Originally, this was brought up as far as what should journalism report, or how should people be labeled in these sorts of things, and I do think it's fair game for reporters to investigate backgrounds and try to come up with some context to what happened, if it was indeed motivated by hatred towards Islam. Some of the things that they've cited seem to sort of betray anything that he would have done, even if he had a murderous impulse. For example, most progressives that I'm aware of would sympathize with Muslim women who are forced to wear burqas and stuff like that. So that seemed kind of off kilter. If he's motivated by the Second Amendment, I don't know how that would how that could be expressed by shooting Muslims. So to me, this seems to be it does seem to be a reach that none of these these ideological predispositions, some of which I don't agree with, nonetheless don't seem to lead to this kind of expression. It does seem like a crime of rage or
Yes.
Of something like that. In which case, I think that should be reported. I've seen a couple of articles which have emphasized the parking angle, which is probably closer to the truth than any of the more elaborate explanations.
Just one thing real quick. Pyong, if there's a history of hatred against, if there's a history of prejudice, what I'm trying to get is, do hate crimes stick?
okay, so like you're saying, can they take the Facebook postings that he made in the past and apply them to the crime and then
Yes.
and then generate new I don't know, Bunto, to be honest with you. I doubt it, based on, and the only reason I say I doubt it is because I've seen ultimately what they have, and I saw what what was that, the special attorney said with regard to whether or not it was a hate crime or not. So it doesn't appear that that's the case in this in this situation. Now, could that constant, like if somebody had, angrily posted, I guess it might depend on the proximity of the post to the commission of the offense. It could depend upon what they posted. So I can't answer that definitively.
Interesting. Hey, would you have something to add, Reuben? Shalom. Or anyone else, please.
I can add something if you like.
Go ahead, AIDS, please.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's rather kind of silly to say that this was done out of a lack of belief in a god, but fair enough. But no, even if you're going to go so far as to say it's because of his anti-theism, anti-theism by definition is active opposition to theism. Now, theism
Yes.
is defined as the belief in the existence of God. So it's not actually the person who believes, but the belief itself. Now, if we are to say that this person hated Muslims, that's not anti-theism. That maybe kind of maybe stems from that. But it's specifically the belief rather than the person, right? So if someone's against quite a lot of anti-theists, or by definition, anti-theists aren't against Christians; they're against Christianity, right?
Right.
So that so
Right.
no,
It seemed.
yeah.
It seemed like a lot of this reporting this as atheism was motivated by the claim that radical Christians bomb abortion clinics and stuff like that, and that's always mentioned. So it's kind of deemed, well, it's fair to mention atheism too. And I actually think as an atheist, I think it's fair game if we look at somebody's Facebook post and they have all these anti-theism posts that could be a possible motivator. I don't see how it adds up to this case, as I mentioned earlier, but it seems fair game if it's relevant. The question is, if we went to this guy's site and he was not a member of any religion, it wouldn't be fair to call him. If there was nothing religious on his or anti-religious, it wouldn't be. We wouldn't obviously say, oh, well, then he must be an atheist and that must be motivating him. But he had some stuff that was. He had some views that he, we all like things. So that should be weighed in context. But he had some particular views, and if we're trying to figure out who this guy is, and if it was there was some motive, that's fair game as far as journalism goes. I'm very much opposed to hate crime legislation. I think that has the perverse effect of making some killings and crimes worse than others simply because of the motivation or the fashionability of the ideas or whatever. I think that cheapens the lives of those who have violence against them for not politically incorrect reasons. So.
Really? Okay, Pyong, just for the sake of the audience understanding, how come we arrived at hate crimes?
Well, I can't say for sure, Bunto. I personally have a subjective impression that it is more political than anything else.
Okay, politically.
I think that part of the. Go ahead.
You said politically motivated. That there's.
Right, politically motivated. Sure. Things are always being added. Something will come up in the media that elicits a response from the populace, and that'll be added to the list of things that can be qualified as a hate crime. I think the best justification that I can personally think of, and this might not even be the actual justification that the legislators had or whatever, would be, like I said before, where certain offenses weren't being prosecuted because of deference given from or by prosecutors to perpetrators,
Okay, or extremely light sentences, like a guy was a member of the Klan, and he was killing black people, and they just gave him like a reduced sentence when they could have, if they hit him with hate crimes, he would have been life in jail or something.
I can't say that was the original motivator, but that would be one that I would find, I guess, acceptable. Where prosecution wasn't being met. Although it does have I don't agree with Jeff as far as it makes some crimes less culpable, but it does, because it shifts the jurisdiction, it also has an effect. Go ahead.
Well, I think under freedom of expression or freedom of speech, it's really not illegal to hate. So to tack that onto a crime is not justified in my view. Since it's not illegal to hate, it is illegal to kill, to murder, to rape, to do all these things. Properly, it is illegal to do those things. But to add whatever ideas may or may not have motivated and make that part of the crime, I think is unjustified.
Would motivated hate crime that's motivated by hate be more kind of specific, or would that even be?
Well, motivation, as I understand it, Pyongyang, motivation is used to establish guilt. So if we were looking for
motive,
I said motive is part of means, motive, opportunity. As I understand it, that's that's part of what we use to establish guilt.
Culpability. All right.
And culpability. So yeah, I'm not an attorney, so I'll gladly defer to anyone who is. But motivation is used to determine, whether the guilt of somebody in terms of they had the means, motive, an opportunity. But I don't think we I don't think we want to prosecute certain add hatred to the crime to the degree that the motive or to why the crime was actually committed.
Well, why don't we set up a hypothetical really quick? I was just thinking about this. Let's say a young man decides that he wants to join the Ku Klux Klan, and his grandmaster says, "Well, yeah, go ahead and assault a minority, right?"
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And he goes ahead and does that, and he's caught and arrested. Is that not a hate crime?
I would say probably so. I mean, if they can establish all of that stuff, yeah, probably so.
Because he singled out for his motive a minority.
Right, racially motivated, yeah.
Well,
What was his
Actually,
motive?
that's
but if
someone finding it. Go ahead.
if I hate my boss and I commit some crime against him or her, that's hatred. So it's the content of the hatred that becomes what we're haggling about, and that's really not, in my view, a good way for justice to be blind and fair.
No, I don't think it's nearly that ambiguous. I mean, there are certain classifications for, certain actions that occur during the commission of the crime, or that are, like Bunto was saying, what motivates the crime, not in the motivating sense that you were talking about before, but so it's not just that someone feels hatred. It has to do with.
It has to do with
what
particular ideologies and stuff like that, which we may all think are fine, and we may think acting in those ideologies is abhorrent. But when we're trying to have a standard by which we judge actual crimes that are committed against actual people, the content of that hatred giving more weight to some kind of hatred versus others is problematic.
Well, yeah, but hatred isn't like there's no requirement that somebody feel hatred in order to be found culpable for a crime. What's typically required is that they have the criminal mind or intent, and that they actually committed a criminal act.
Well, you know what I was thinking, guys?
What
Cannot a defense attorney argue that the hate crimes themselves, the hate laws themselves are prejudicial?
Mhm.
Like they could say that, well, for whatever reason my client killed somebody, you're just adding on extra years. You follow that thinking? Maybe I didn't make it clear. It's like the hate laws themselves are prejudicial, Pyong.
Yeah, probably not very effective. Don't know if it would go very far, but yeah, they could argue that, sure. Yeah,
What were you going to say, Brojo?
Go ahead.
Brojo, you had something to add?
Yeah, I was just quickly just doing some searching here. It's interesting. I didn't even know this, that some of the first hate crime laws were passed in the American Civil War, the Civil Rights Act of 1871, to combat against the Ku Klux Klan.
Oh, yeah, the what do they call it, the Reconstruction. I'm sure they probably passed a lot of hate crime laws back then. What do you think of the Reconstruction?
Then you have more recently Civil Rights Act of 1968. It says it enacted the 18 U.S.C. subsection 245, which permits federal prosecution of anyone who willingly injures, intimidates, or interferes with another person, or attempts to do so by force because of the other person's race, color, religion, or national origin. Because of the victim's attempt to engage in one of 6 types of federally protected activities, such as attending school, patronizing a public place or facility, applying for employment, acting as a juror in a state or court, or voting. And
I think they've. Go ahead.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No.
That they let those expire?
No, I think they've expanded that. I think they've
expanded
expanded the categories of hate crimes to include people who are transgendered people and things like that. I'm not sure. I'm not an expert. So if you do see something during your research here, Brother John, that I say in error, please point it out, because I am not an expert. But yeah, that was what I was referring to. The practical effect of changing the jurisdiction puts it into a federal court. You see what I'm saying? And then there are ancillary effects of that. For example, there are I don't know if this would even be germane, but they have mandatory minimum sentencing guidelines. Prosecutors typically have a lot more power, and there's a lot more money for prosecutions in the federal.
Okay, in the general, hate crimes are supposed to be a deterrent. I mean, excuse me, hate crime laws are supposed to be a deterrent, or is it supposed to be revenge? Anyone? Does it deter, crimes based on prejudice?
No, I think that it actually increases them.
It increases them. Hate crimes. People want the cred of committing a hate crime when they go to jail. Is that what you're trying to tell
No, I just think that so much focus on the fact that it a hate crime makes it a taboo, and I think humans normally think of taboos as you're not supposed to like it, but you like it, and by human nature, people will automatically venture towards said taboo. You know what I mean?
Really?
Oh yeah, like.
Yeah, I'd kind of agree. I think the problem is that it tends towards unequal treatment under law, and it says if one person is killed, that murder is worse than if another person is murdered because of the whatever ideology the murderer had or in whatever name they acted, and I think that is a divisive kind of thing, and that's not to diminish the horror of what the Klan did or any other number of these groups, but it is, I think, divisive. I can see where it is.
Well, that may be, but again, Jeff, you understand, right, that probably one of the major motivators for putting these things together was that just like Bunto said, if you went into Alabama and attempted to charge the Klan with something back then, the local or state authorities would have just let them go, right?
Or a very minor, sentence.
And
Right.
Let's take this one for example. This is something that I pointed out to somebody I was talking on G+ with. Ultimately, I think this case, it's remarkably unimportant whether you have the aggravated cause of hate crime or whatever you want to call it, because they got this guy dead to rights, I mean, I'm always an advocate of the victim. I always try to look at the victim's perspective, no matter what. I'm not about rehabilitation. So, in my estimation, I think they ought to kill this guy if they have the death penalty in that state, or put him in jail for the rest of his life, period. That's it. End of story. So, ultimately, the end result is not going to be any different.
Well, I would rather, we're getting a little afield, but I would rather see restorative justice where this person,
No, we're not.
Where this person would. Well, I meant I might be getting, but I would rather see restorative justice. I don't really care if this person is killed or not. I have no need for vengeance, and I don't know that the people involved.
How are you going to restore death, dude? How are you? How are you going to do that?
Well, you don't. You can't restore death, obviously, but you can compensate. He can work for the families and give them some sort of compensation to the extent that he is able to do that.
Oh, you're right. Okay, you're saying you're ideal. That's what you would have.
Restorative justice rather than just us killing this person. That to me seems kind of.
Well, okay. Well, think about it this way, Jeff. Like the Klan in Alabama in the '60s were essentially playing the system. They knew they could commit these crimes and get light sentences or actually get off. Correct, Pyong? So what the hate crime legislation was a remedy to it's like a game. If you have a role-playing game online and everybody's cheating, do you not want to fix it so that there's no more cheating? That's what hate crime legislation is. To get, whittle down the cheating. Can you look at it that way, Pyong?
I suppose. I mean, if that was the original intent and that's the effect of it, yeah, then that's a good. That's good intent and good effect, if that is the case, yeah.
Now, the thing what strikes me, Jeff, is in the libertarian society, how do they want to strive towards tolerance and equality or not?
Well, they want to strive towards justice and equality as far as how each person is valued. What libertarians don't generally do is advocate for equality of outcomes.
How about this, Jeff?
People are quite different.
How would the libertarian society handle the Ku Klux Klan?
Well, if we really want to go down this road, the libertarian society would not handle anything. The various institutions that would be private would adjudicate those matters, and they would insure the people involved, and they would be insuring people against liability, and they would be economically incentivized to not let their policyholders kill other people or do things like this. So I would imagine that a libertarian society would be more preventative than reactive. I don't think these things would happen. The slavery was a government mandated activity. Jim Crow was formed by governments, and libertarians don't like any kind of governments, whether they're some of them like minimal governments, but they don't like big governments either at the state level or anything else. So all of this was facilitated by governments. Jim Crow was on the books. Plessy versus Ferguson was a Supreme Court decision. It was not a decision in Alabama, the separate but equal thing, and that's what created all of these conflicts in the South in particular early in those days. And the North was under the same states' rights, and these problems didn't exist. So it's not just the federal government having prevented these things, but it's a more complicated situation when you have all of these government entities and all these crazy laws. And yeah, it did take some time to unravel, and Reconstruction was kind of brutal for a lot of people in the South. Not everybody in the South was a wealthy plantation owner.
Okay, well, let me go ahead and butt in here. Lou, welcome to the show. How you doing?
Oh, I'm good. What's going on today?
We are talking, first subject is about that horrible execution of the 3 Muslim students in North Carolina. Do you know about that one?
Oh, of course I do.
Okay, what's your take on it, just off the top of your head?
Well,
you hear atheist coming out of the news, major news?
yeah, well, all the fake news people and right-wingers, and it really sickens me on 2 different ends. All the atheists capitulating and trying to make excuses like, oh, that's not us. I'm like, no fucking duh. You don't even need to say it. And then you got the right-wingers trying to scapegoat all their bigotry onto atheists from one incident.
Yeah.
That's my take.
Anyone else?
I was just wondering. Okay, does this hate crime, a hate crime conviction, kind of hijack equal rights in a sense? You see, it almost kind of now, no matter the victim, almost now because of their religion or race, that their life is put at a higher value now?
Yes, exactly.
Well, it could be. I mean, that is. I think that one of the ways that is justified, and I can see what you're saying, but one of the ways that is justified is because there was a prior or historical injustice, and there is what is construed as a important and narrowly tailored remedy to address that historical injustice.
Well, dude, should you be accused and tried and executed because of a thought crime? That's what it really boils down to.
No, certainly not.
Bigotry. I mean, even though they carried out the action, they should be sentenced for that action, regardless of, like, you know, I'm sure there's extenuating circumstances and stuff, but to label a crime worse than another because of a thought crime, I think is a little delusional.
Well, thought crime, doesn't that apply against the state? Am I wrong? Thought crime has something to do
that's what it is, though, right?
Military thought against the state. No, this is an attack on an individual because of their minority status.
Or even if the guy said something prejudicial or even wrote something. Now, how about his freedom of speech or his freedom of press?
Okay, Pyong.
Oh, well.
Can you stretch it out that far?
Yeah, I mean, you're not really talking about a freedom of speech issue, you know. I'm not really sure what to say about that. Yeah,
yes.
you know, that's just it's more like a manifestation of, you can never know somebody's true motivation. You can never know what somebody was actually thinking. And so we have these methods that we have determined, or our system has determined, are an acceptable way of showing certain things, and certain behaviors, while uttered or manifested during the commission of a crime, are sufficient to justify this different or aggravated cause of action. I'm not exactly sure.
Well, how about this? What people find distasteful about hate crime is that the bar is set low. I mean, let's suppose we set the bar a little higher for hate crime. Okay, let's say that a person for a year is ruminating against minorities, right?
Uh-huh.
And he kills somebody. So we say it will not rise to the level of a hate crime then. But let's say this guy was ruminating for a year and trying to, what would you say, like Christians do, proselytize, evangelize, start like a hate church.
How is the outcome any different?
Would that not rise to the level of a hate crime?
How is the outcome any different? The
thing is, like,
was murder, right?
Okay, listen.
It doesn't matter what happened beforehand. They could have been crazy. They could have been, going through whatever. But what matters is the act of murder, regardless of, if they planned it or if it was the heat of passion, blah, blah, blah. We've determined that it's murder, all right? So you're labeling a motive as more extreme than others when I don't really think the motive's involved. It's just the act that we're focusing on, right?
Well, what
justice is supposed to be served equally?
Well, I look at it like this. There's people that game the system, right? And we're trying to get rid of that. We're trying to get rid of sickness in our body of our society that is spreading hate. So that's why we came up with hate laws, hate crimes, so we could just get rid of those people. See what I mean?
So they're not worthy, and they're not as
they are definitely not worthy. If they are evangelizing hate, I don't want them in my society.
I have a, this is just my opinion. I mean, these are my subjective impressions about it. But I have a, feeling I kind of agree with lyrics on a certain level, and not so much with you, Bunto, with regard to, it is kind of, it's almost, I don't want to say it's unfair, these hate, but they're politically motivated,
Right.
That it's what I refer to as that one-way check valve. It's never politically expedient to be soft on crime. It's never, additionally, it's never politically expedient to be soft on somebody who is a racist and commits a murder because of their prejudice,
Right.
But yeah, I think in some situations I agree with lyrics. I think that.
Okay, well, let me ask you this: the Trayvon Martin Zimmerman case. Do you think that was proper? I know you hate the word proper justice, but what do you think of the outcome of that case? Justice was served.
Okay, I wasn't there. Okay, I wasn't in the courtroom. I didn't hear all of the evidence that was given to the jury, so I really can't say. I don't think our justice system is perfect, but it is what it is, and you have to pick a side. And I support our justice system, and so if they don't find him guilty, then I have to go along with that.
Right.
So I'm very hesitant to second guess the decision of juries, even though I think some of them are wrong.
Now, Zimmerman goes out and repeats the crime,
Which
then
is
we know that justice wasn't served in the first
Not necessarily.
Okay.
he is in jail again for violent crimes. Yeah.
No, they're two isolated incidents. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't just map the culpability of one to the other, though.
Oh, we can't?
Yeah, I can.
No.
He murdered a kid in cold blood, and he didn't get convicted, and now he's out beating people up. It's only a matter of time until he kills again.
Okay. Well, I mean, if you want to think that, that's fine. That's not.
But I mean, doesn't that sound sound thinking? I mean, that to me sounds like sound thinking. Okay, look at this guy. Who's the guy who killed all his wives? He was like some cop, and finally around the third wife. Now this guy, Drew Peterson. Okay. Can you not see that? He got away with it, so it emboldened him to be more, aggressive. You can look at it that way for Zimmerman. He got off. He got fame from it. He got bolstered, so he's going to continue his aggressiveness.
Maybe so, but it doesn't have any. It's a separate incident. Maybe maybe he contributed to the situation with Trayvon Martin, but maybe he actually did defend himself. He did get beat up pretty badly, and his testimony was consistent as far as I could tell.
Was Trayvon Martin armed with besides candy?
Hold
well,
on.
you don't have to be armed with it. You can be a deadly force. You don't have to have a gun to be a deadly force. You can beat the shit out of people. I'm sure you've...
And please don't attempt to half-assed re-adjudicate a case. I mean,
No,
really,
absolutely.
seriously.
Absolutely.
Okay, I'll say this in my behalf. A lot of
people
people
with the outcome all day long, but to sit here.
I'm only expressing doubts in what appeared to be what happened. I had no access to the testimony or whatever, but I didn't find it the most preposterous idea in the world that he may have actually had to defend himself.
Well,
and
okay.
The idea that somebody is...
Let me say it this way. Were African Americans justified in their outrage in the outcome of that case?
I want to lay down some facts on this case, because what Jeff is saying has nothing to do with the reality of what happened. There are certain things we do know, whether you were there or not. We know that he was stalking this kid because he called 911 and the police told him to leave him the fuck alone. After he got off the phone with the cops, he stalked the kid several blocks before he fucking shot him to death.
But that doesn't mean that he was
followed
not...
the kid so he could murder him.
Well, you don't know that's what he followed the kid because of the crime in the neighborhood that he was. Listen, I have no skin in this game, but the narrative is that he gunned down somebody in cold blood. I don't think, from what I heard, that the facts demonstrate that conclusively. Perhaps that is what happened, but I don't think that's a slam dunk. And he did. He tailed the kid. He was observing him.
Yeah. Okay. You listen to what you say. Could that have outcome been avoided? Yes.
Yes.
Why did he not choose to avoid it?
By both parties, it could have been avoided.
No.
If you're being stalked with a guy, how could you avoid it? He has a car and a gun, and he's following you. How can you avoid it? Just play dead?
Bunto, you're really kind of asking questions that are re-adjudicating a case.
Yeah,
well, I know that, Pound, but Pound, these are just like, okay, if I see a group of African Americans outraged at an outcome of a case, can I not can I not re-adjudicate it there? Like, see, if there's any validity in their point.
You can re-adjudicate it all day long. It makes great fucking clickbait.
But whether he wants...
Don't get that way. Because what you want to do, you want to learn to improve our society.
How are you?
Yes, God. That's why civil rights legislation came about.
How are you improving society by kind of half-assed
Emmett Till. Emmett Till. Would you have told those people at Emmett Till, get over it?
You don't even have, bro.
Okay, let me ask you this, John.
How are you improving the system, man?
You know the Emmett Till case. Remember? That he whistled at a white woman and they threw him in the river and then they dragged him out because he was from Chicago. All the way back, and then there was such an outrage in that black community of what they did to this kid that was the tip-off to the civil rights movement. Please, ask all my audience members to please look up Emmett Till and see the beginnings of the civil rights.
What does that matter?
It does matter because they knew it was an injustice. They went back and re-adjudicated that case.
Okay, I'm not talking about subject matter that you just said. I'm certainly in agreement. I have no idea. I take you at your word. How does that show that you are improving society by re-adjudicating
I believe civil rights improved our society. They went back. Well, let's say I don't know all the facts, but I want to see why the African Americans were outraged at Trayvon Martin, to see their position, so I can think about it and then discuss about with it. It's not necessarily re-adjudicating because I have no authority in any court.
You're asking specific questions though about the case and about the outcome.
Okay, so I should not be able to do that.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying.
That is a weird way of thinking. I mean, that's not how. Don't law schools re-adjudicate all the time.
Bunto, really? That's a weird way of thinking. You're kind of half-assed throwing these partial hypotheticals, partial maybe right.
Okay, my problem is authority. That's it. I mean, if I was in a law school studying this, I would...
No, it's not authority, Bunto. It's the fact that you don't have the information.
Okay. How am I re-adjudicating it if I have no standing in any court of law?
Oh, Jesus Christ. Bunto, all I'm saying is you shouldn't be asking specific questions to Jeff, saying, should this or should this not have occurred, with specific details of the case, and expect them to have any meaningful answer, period.
I'm not. I'm just asking, Jeff, could it not have been avoided after he laid down?
Let's get back to the present case, huh?
Well, sure, but I mean, it's just a strange way of thinking, to thinking that you cannot
It's
go
strange. What's strange? I mean, what's strange about that? I mean, really, you're putting the situation up to calls for nothing but speculation and conjecture.
Okay, Jeff.
Yeah,
what did Jeff say exactly?
Most any situation can be avoided. That's uncontroversial.
Okay, the situation could have been avoided.
Any confrontation, yes, can be avoided.
Could have been avoided.
In hindsight,
a young man
yes.
being stalked by a guy in a car and a gun while he's walking down the street. How could he avoided that?
He tried to avoid it. Here's
Yes.
the simple fact.
Right. It was a horrible tragedy.
No, it was a travesty of justice. The fact is, the guy called the cops and was told to back the fuck off. When he continued to stalk that kid, he was already guilty of assault, and then he elevated it to murder.
Pyong?
What?
Not if it was defensive. Not if it was self-defense. And
No,
just
he
running.
instigated the situation. If that kid had fought back and killed that fucker, he would have been fucking innocent in my eyes, because he would be defending himself against a crazy stalker with a gun.
Well, I don't know. That's what's up for grabs as far as the evidence goes. So I don't know that it's from what I read, the testimony was consistent with Zimmerman's that his injuries and the physical evidence was consistent with what he reported, and that it escalated, and it could have absolutely been avoided. I wouldn't endorse going after somebody that way, but I don't know that the cops would have done any better. The guy would probably be dead if the cops had come there too, unfortunately. So,
Yeah. All right, well, why don't we cadence? Okay, well, let's dovetail it back to what we know about the atheist crime. Atheist crime. See, now my mind's befuddled. The way that the media is portraying it as an atheist crime. So we're all in agreement that that is just the way media is trying to spin the story.
Well, I have a question. Has there been any new news on the situation, on like motives or any?
Well, now from what I've heard, Lou, they're trying to say that he was a Second Amendment advocate and try to tie that in. I'm just talking the media sources, that was a factor. Welcome, Rainbow.
I would think more the bigger issue with me is that there's a lot of anti-Muslim stuff. Not necessarily that's an atheist, but this seems to be an anti-Muslim story to me.
I don't know. This, from everything we know, which is very, very little right now, is from what the wife said and what from the shooter himself has said. So we have the shooter and the wife of the shooter both saying the same thing, that it was a dispute over a months-long parking spot argument.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
Anybody who's saying it's anything besides that is just talking out their ass.
Or trying to get ratings.
Yeah,
that's what the news is trying to do.
Yeah, they're trying to manipulate the situation for their own personal gain. And so far what I see it as is a bunch of right-wing bigots trying to scapegoat.
So the antidote for that is for atheists to stand up and actually explain atheism, or just to say that this guy wasn't one of us?
No, I think as atheists we need to, every time right-wingers bring this up, we just don't even respond to it. Say you're full of shit, you know you're full of shit, and that's it. There's no reason to even engage on that topic with them.
Anyone?
Yeah. Wouldn't it be more of an anti-Muslim spin if the Muslim shot the guy?
That's interesting.
Well,
so the Muslim kids kill the guy.
So,
well, they would stand up and say it's a religion of peace. I know what they'd be doing.
Okay, but I can use a personal story to kind of put this in context and to validate what the witnesses are saying. So when I was a teenager, we lived in a crap town, and there was a bunch of crackheads and sailors and shit, right? Our next door neighbors were constantly parking in front of our house on our property. My dad was a fucking retired Vietnam vet and shipyard worker. So after a couple of weeks of this shit, he hauled out his 38 and was going to go over there and shoot those motherfuckers for the exact same thing, right? The only thing that stopped him was his wife, of course. But there was no religion involved. It doesn't matter. Anybody who's trying to call this religion or anything is full of shit, because I've seen in real life how people can snap from your property being violated.
Yes.
Okay, but what I've heard just lately, that this guy he's been over there with his gun before. Did you know? I don't know if you guys have just heard that. I just heard that on CNB and MSNBC, that the guy visited these poor Muslim kids before with his gun. So
Yeah,
there was prior.
I heard that too. He showed up with a rifle one time, then he had a sidearm strapped to him another time. I think if there's a takeaway on this, that if there is some kind of eureka moment or some insight that people have, is what I would like people to understand is that these simple domestic disputes frequently escalate into fatalities.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, and so, if something like that, and I tell my friends and family, if something like that happens to you, do not hesitate. Call the cops. Get a paper trail on the person who is aggressive like that. It's a disincentive for them, and then also you do have a paper trail in case you want to do anything. Now, some people might argue that might not be effective, but it is. I think it represents a disincentive.
Yeah, that's wise advice.
These things certainly do happen. I think there was an episode. I can't remember if it was an episode of Frontline or if it was a standalone documentary where one guy was an engineer and I think his neighbor was a doctor, and they had a dispute over a parking easement that led to the engineer going over to the doctor's house and killing him and his wife. So this stuff does happen, even though it sounds silly.
And Sid asked a good question. Why did the kids not previously call the cops on this? Well,
we don't know if they did.
They might have, but they might not have called often enough. The simple fact is that this is America, and they were Muslims. So maybe they felt that the cops would not do anything for them and may even have done something to them, even if they were the victims.
That's an interesting point.
Yeah, they are American citizens, though, right?
A lot of people feel that way about the cops, not just.
Yeah.
Well, are you trying to mitigate the cops when they do that, Jeff? I mean, this is just sounded like to me that you said a lot of people.
When they do what?
Well, I mean, let's suppose that. Well, here in Austin, I remember we had a case where the cops were commenting about a woman's breasts and stuff, and you're going to get raped and stuff. It's sort of like, sometimes the cops are biased against minorities, in their behavior.
Yeah.
Well, in America right now, cops are indiscriminately murdering people in the streets on camera, and they're not being convicted or even fired.
You're absolutely right about that.
This happened in my state.
Yeah, it's happened in every state. It's happened in my little county twice. Two people have been. One was asphyxiated very similarly to the situation.
Well, okay, how about this, Jeff? Why don't we have hate crimes against cops?
Oh,
see.
Remember
living in America.
I forget the dude's name, but somebody did go out and kill a couple of New York cops after that one dude got killed by the cops.
You have a much better chance of being killed by a cop than by a terrorist. So.
Okay, well, that's, of course, another conversation. All right, well, I just want to think. Hello, Rainbow. Welcome to the show. Have you had any discussion about the North Carolina tragedy?
I've been kind of trying to avoid it. There's a lot of fervor right now.
Like, have you encountered any theists saying, atheists, I told you so?
No.
That's good. I mean, they haven't caught on fire yet. Maybe, the message is going to just totally miss altogether, and it'll turn into an anti-Muslim, like Lyric said.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I doubt it. I think they will use it when it's opportune for them, just like they used the Hitler and the Pol Pot and all that.
True. Well, okay. Why don't we just go ahead and in that one there. The second subject I want to bring up was like, I don't know how many of you audience members read comic books, but I'm like a comic book enthusiast. And in DC Comics, they have something called the Justice League of America, and their counterpart, okay, Justice League of America are the good guys. Their counterpart is called the Legion of Doom. And I was thinking, in the great debate community, why don't we think of people who could be in the, of course, the atheists would be the Legion of Doom, who would be members of the bad guys. The first person I nominated for Lex Luthor was Sid, was Ask an Atheist. Do all of you have any other people you would add into the Legion of Doom?
What's the Legion of Doom again?
The Legion of Doom are going to be the atheists who are going to knock down G-Man. a superstar team of atheists that will face up against Rancam, G-Man, all the theist nuttery.
I think they do a much better job of facing up against themselves.
That's true. They self-destruct. Well, I like Sid because I know Sid is a hardened atheist, and I'm sure he'll never, go to sleep atheist, wake up Christian.
Sid is an atheist's atheist.
That's true.
I nominated Ozymandias. So
Ozymandias, a very eloquent speaker. Any Ozzy fans in here?
I'm an Ozzy fan. I think Ozzy is excellent at bringing complex ideas to the layperson, and I think that is the expression. That is the epitome of intelligence and reason, and he does it masterfully.
I would nominate you as well, Jeff.
Oh, thanks, Bro Joe. I don't know what to say.
No problem.
Okay, have you all heard of an individual named Christopher Mate?
Yes.
Okay, tell me about his chops. I mean, is he a real solid atheist?
Yeah, I think so. He's a very curious guy. He's an excellent interviewer and questioner. I think. I think he's would be in the Hall of Fame. Absolutely.
Okay, he goes toe to toe, or does he just interview?
He understands psychology very well, and you can tell about how he understands it by the way that he can talk to theists and keep them at ease regardless of the conversation.
Yeah.
Oh, that's excellent. Excellent skill to have. I have it too. Pyong, I mean, who's your favorite atheist on the great debate community?
Bunto Skiffler.
No. The easiest one to knock down. No, okay.
Well, I want to know what villain you're going to be, though. Black Manta?
Yeah. Black Manta. The cheetah.
How about Stizor?
Yeah, Stizor. Tell me what you think of Stizor. I really like Stizor. I think he can be a member of the Legion of Doom. Stizor is not for his, his temperament, but he definitely does know philosophy in my book. Just talking to him.
Floyd
can talk it up.
Too.
Floyd.
He knows his philosophy.
What do you guys think of Art Norris? Anything there?
Yeah,
no idea.
Art's good.
Yeah.
I like Art. I think he's
no, we're all talking males. Why don't we bring in one? The woman, the cheetah.
Well, I know she hates me, but I think Eve is a good spokesman for.
Exactly, Eve Real.
I don't agree that she hates me, but maybe she does. But
no, she hates you.
Oh,
and,
yeah, she hates you.
I know she says ugly things about me, but sometimes that can be a sign of affection, So I wouldn't discount that, but anyway, I respect her even if she doesn't like me.
Okay, Jeff, who do you like for an atheist? I mean, give me a heavy hitter.
Well, I agree about Sid. Definitely, I would say Oz is the best. I think outreach atheist because I think he can articulate complex ideas to intelligent or curious lay people very well. So he would be my favorite. Seth MacMullen, definitely.
You think so, huh?
Absolutely.
Why? I don't see where I stand out above all or from all these people.
You know why, Sid? Because you're like a rock. I mean, I've seen you in action in Nadia's Hangout. Just take a beating, and then you still keep going. I mean, so you're it.
Awesome. You're Titan, Sid.
I'm a principled person.
Hey, plus you're ball-headed, so Lex Luthor. Anyway.
Yeah.
What about Lou?
Well, the Captain Picard of atheism.
Captain Picard.
Okay, what about Lou Pliskin? What do we like about Lou?
I don't know.
He's no less an atheist than I am.
Yeah,
Oh, really?
no one can be a better atheist, Bunto. I'm sorry. We're not like religion, okay? We can't just judge each other because God.
That is-
Oh, that's a
good
kind of weird look on it, lyrics. I mean, there's some soft atheists that I like kind of raise an eyebrow at.
They're not atheists. They're theists.
Get him, Sid.
Okay, Rainbow, are you there? Who do you love? Who do you like for the atheist community? Being the Legion of Doom.
Legion of Doom.
I
Okay.
should imitate her voice.
She's
I
AFK right now. She
How
went.
about Tommy? We haven't heard from Tommy.
I know, Tommy's floating around there.
Any nominees for the Legion of Doom?
Patrick on Nadia's channel. The Illuminary.
Patrick, yes. Patrick Fester, absolutely.
Is that tough? I mean,
No,
what's his
he
name?
knows his stuff, and he stands up as well. He doesn't back down.
He does. He is a man of deep conviction.
Yeah.
Oh, Patrick from Jersey.
Yeah. He just the only problem he has is with his blood pressure.
Okay, he gets angry.
Yes.
Yeah, he does. He's awesome, dude. I love it when he gets his panties in a bunch.
Okay.
He's fearless like that. He's fearless.
Yeah,
and he's
yeah.
willing to
Yes, he
be.
is.
Okay, well, let me ask you guys.
Oh, I think he has a little ADD.
Hopefully he won't be the next atheist hate criminal.
Oh, my God. Yeah, okay, Jeff.
Stop crying.
Okay, well, let me ask you guys. Is it better to be passionate or to be able to talk, to present the argument? Like
I don't think
passion,
I don't think they're mutually exclusive. I think you can do both.
because I'll give you the name of a passionate atheist, fiction fighter. Passionate.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there's some kind of tiger.
She's
a firecracker.
I feel her energy.
Grr.
Yeah. She throws those fireballs.
Okay, Pyong, which is better, passion or the ability to present the argument?
I think ability to present the argument. Frankly, I don't think you require much passion. I mean, well, I guess you do because you have to, kind of stand, like Sid was saying, stand your ground or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. I think the ability to present yourself well.
Isn't that what Zimmerman said?
Don't know.
Oh, God, Jeff. All right. Now, listen.
That was an amazing zinger, Jeff. Am I on fire now? Somebody put me out.
No, I couldn't resist. Sorry about that.
Okay, look.
That's terrible.
If you're somehow locked in a hangout for like 48 hours with 99 theists, who do you want to be in there? Fiction fighter or Ozymandias? Next
Theists?
Oh,
Yes.
Ozzy. Yeah, Ozzy.
Ozzy instead of fiction fighter?
48 hours, dude.
Oh, yeah.
I definitely want fiction because after 48 hours, he's already explained as much as he's going to explain, and I want some fire, After a long
Fiction
period of
fighter
time.
for sure.
48 hours? Yeah, I don't know if I want to be with anybody for 48
Yeah,
She'll take it down. She'll
Maybe
take
my
it down.
wife.
Oh, no.
4 hours is enough.
Well, that's the foxhole analogy. You're stuck in a foxhole, and, they say no atheist in a foxhole, but you're under battle. I mean, you don't want to hook up with somebody who's going to quit in battle. And I'll bring up one individual that did that on me, and that was Atheism Defended. I don't know if you guys know Raul, but he definitely quit in the middle of battle. And he's never been able to explain his position on that. So, I mean, that is sad.
I got a question about foxholes when you finished.
Go ahead, Sid.
Well, why is it so dangerous to be in the foxhole, or should I say, why is it more dangerous to be in the foxhole than, say, on the way to the foxhole or on the way out of the foxhole? I don't get that.
It doesn't have the same punch. There are no atheists who are on their way to a foxhole. Like
Yeah,
Except their church on the way to
it's
the
a
foxhole.
foxhole because apparently a foxhole is caused by a bomb. So why is it not a bomb hole?
No, they dig them out.
there are no atheists who find themselves within 1 week's time of being in a foxhole.
All right. Pyong, are you there?
Or
Okay,
the foxhole's a week behind them.
Go ahead and
Yeah,
explain to Sid a foxhole, the way where it's Call of Duty. How's a foxhole?
I don't know how a
We
I
got
don't
some
know what a
military people in
foxhole
there
is.
that'll actually be able to explain what a foxhole really is.
Yeah, do it. Lyrics can do it. Yeah.
Okay.
I've only built a foxhole twice before, and it was me and another man one time, and another time it was a whole squad of like 10. But you pretty much dig into the ground about 6 feet, a small rectangular section, we'll just say. There's different varieties, you know what I mean? And you have metal beams and random brush that you lay across it. But it ends up taking, with 2 people, it took us about 6 to 8 hours of to complete a full foxhole with all the decorations and. You got to make
it across the street. We build a foxhole.
I've always got a foxhole.
Ask Lou, dude. Ask Lou. It takes a while. You have to use sandbags, and you get like 300 sandbags, and you fill them all up, and they weigh like 50 to 80 pounds a piece. Sometimes it's all wet. It sucks dick, dude. It's
right. Oh my god. I have been under the impression all my life that a foxhole was just something that it appears when a bomb goes off, and that's like the hole. I had no idea it was
that's the hole to help you
blast crater.
You need to go watch some old Vietnam movies. Like I don't.
Well, I watched all the movies, but when I see people in a foxhole, I don't think foxhole. To me, it's
no, they're dug up.
I've never been taught. Now, whenever I see it, I'll understand that it's a built structure. But I have no idea.
Try building one.
Yeah, what pissed me off about that when they came out with the foxhole, atheist and foxhole things was it's a really stupid thing to say, one, because it's stupid, and two, because
not the least of which.
The real army doesn't use foxholes anymore. We got these things called tanks.
All right. It's just sitting them.
What is that now? I'm just kidding.
A tank?
I'm just joking.
It's still up on the battlefield. Which end do I blow into here? F-16. All right. Okay, listen. Have we left any good quality atheists out? I mean, we got Stizor.
Well, wait a minute. What happened with you and, what was his name? Atheist Explained?
Oh, Atheist Defended. Yeah. Do any of you know Raul?
No.
No. Absolute atheist. He's pretty good.
Well, Raul, he was one that 2 years before did the Forbidden Fruit, his religion of mental illness, and got knocked down for it.
Okay.
We're talking about that this week. He did that about 2 years ago, and he was a hard anti-theist. Go ahead, Tommy.
I believe that Nadia deserves an honorable mention.
Yes, I would say Nadia too. I would definitely.
No.
How did we forget Nadia? Hey, shut up! Yeah, you gotta put Nadia in here. Just as the mileage alone.
Yes.
Okay.
As an atheist defender, no, I can't.
Okay, well Nadia would be like a turncoat. Okay, she'd be a liability.
I quit. I'm becoming a
mascot. Yeah.
Okay, can Nadia be a mascot? Not really like a full defender, just a mascot.
No.
Eye candy. Nadia's Nadia's that bitch that Bunto drags around. He doesn't have enough battle with all the bad guys, so he brings on Nadia.
You can't let a super cunt be in the Super League.
Which superhero or villain would Nadia be? Like Lobo, or you know who Lobo is, Bunto?
Vaguely. Go ahead. Who's Lobo?
I don't know.
Carl is
like this massive black hair and white skin. Maybe Bizarro Superman.
Yeah, really Poison Ivy or something.
Leather hats. That guy wear a BDSM hat or whatever.
Okay, listen. I have like this softness for Nadia. I know that she's like a mess, but you're right.
No, I didn't mean it like that. I just didn't think she doesn't really defend atheism or.
Well, she's opening the front door to theists. I mean, here we are having a meeting of Legion of Doom, and then she's opening the front door so they can come in.
We don't want theists. We can have
She's a double agent.
We can have a better time in a hangout without theists than we do with them. Let's face it. We're having a fun time. We're laughing. We're making jokes. With the theists, all we're doing is scratching our fucking heads and wondering why these fucking delusional, mentally ill people are in our hangout.
I disagree with you there, Sid. I think a lot of the theists. I really like a lot of the theists that I've met on Google.
I like a lot of the theists, but I hate every single one of them. Not every. I don't hate them. I hate every single one of their teachings.
Now, wait, Jeff, are you changing your
I can
vote?
see red, man.
I'm only half delusional, right, Sid?
I can't wait till Sid goes full like retard and just turns into a Christian and insults everyone on the G Plus community. Tomorrow he's gonna end up like totally born again, and no one's gonna accept him, dude.
Yeah.
Well, that would be shock. That would
No,
be
I wouldn't become a Christian. I would either become a Muslim or a Jew.
a Muslim. That's
Muslim.
He's gonna do a Brett Keane on us, I think.
okay.
Does anybody here remember when Brett Keane was like as atheistic as he now is theistic?
Oh yeah, I remember him back in the Stick
Yeah.
Game days. Sure.
Oh
He's
my
a
God.
Brett Keaneist. He's
Okay, well, just for the audience's sake, could you please explain that Brett Keane? Was anything different, or is
he
it
was
better?
just as much an asshole. He just was an
He's
atheist.
an internet
Kind of a.
or YouTube personality, but he
If you
was
were
very atheistic when I first met him.
Well, guys, I mean, did he present the argument well, or was he just against God?
He presented the atheist argument as pretty competently and as forcefully as I've ever heard anybody present it.
Mm-hmm.
And then,
So what the fuck happened?
that's a good question because
Apparently, he snapped. He beat up his wife. Number one.
should we be
I've
saying
heard
that
that.
on a live hangout?
Yeah,
I
I've
mean,
heard it.
This is just what I've
Public
heard
knowledge, dude.
firsthand, but from more than one source, if you know what I mean.
I've heard that too, Sid.
Yeah. So he's a wife beater, and obviously atheists can't be wife beaters because it doesn't compute. So he becomes a Christian in order to
No, they just kill
justify
Muslims.
the wife beating.
Well, what I was thinking is, okay, look at this guy. Let's suppose we have an atheist who has a drinking problem, and he goes to find remedy in Alcoholics Anonymous, and I know they're going to have to make him say that he has to believe in something greater than himself. So, you know, essentially he becomes a theist. Is that a bad thing?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is, because he's still deluding himself.
It depends on your motivations.
But it helps him, you know, like Lyric says, it
But
helps
how
him
do
quit
you get
drinking.
yourself to believe in something higher than you? I mean, like, how do you do that?
He only does that so he can quit drinking, Sid.
But no, so he's faking it.
Well, come on, Lyrics. I mean, what would you say that is? That's just him using the God concept, you know, to help him stop drinking.
It depends on what your motivation
You got to remember, there's faith involved here. Because there's no evidence, so there's faith involved.
Well, he may never even go to a church. Well, no, we're just making up a hypothetical. Let's
I
say
know, but you know there's no God, right? So how do you make yourself believe that there is one?
Well, okay, if he has a drinking problem, and if he somehow stumbles across this belief that if he believes in a higher source that helps him stop drinking, what's wrong with that?
Because it's a cop-out. It's a weak-willed prick.
Okay, it's too... Okay, it's weak.
Having experience in AA, I will agree with Lou. It's very childish and very cultish and very... It's way more religious than you would think it is.
All right. It's very religious.
But if you're an atheist and you got addiction problems, you have motherfucking science. All right,
dude. All right, for me, when I don't have as much of a problem as I did when I was younger. I had serious problems, you know, and going to AA kind of made me focus more on the problem than the solution, and the atmosphere that they had, like the whole religious group mentality kind of thing, I played into for a while.
And they tell you, right? They tell you you're powerless against.
Yes, yeah. So I believed it for a while, you know, and then as I left that organization and I went to just pursue my life as I normally would, I found myself less focused on those kinds of things and more focused on life. And it seems I've had a balance in my life within the past couple years where it's no longer an issue, and I was making it out to be more of an issue than it really was.
Well, and it seems like if chemical abuse of any kind is a way to evade reality, you're just substituting one evasion of reality.
Yeah, exactly. That's what AA does. It substitutes one delusion for another.
Right.
And once I got out of that kind of atmosphere, I realized that it all was a delusion, so I didn't have to worry that. It eased my mind when I realized that, but at the time when I never really thought about these types of things, I was definitely in the swing of heat of the moment, and at this particular time, this concept or this group of people was beneficial to me at that particular time, and it helped. You know, it does help certain people, man.
Well, okay, let me ask you guys this real quick. Should should atheists set up shop next to AA?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think there should be a secular AA.
Well, how can you?
Well,
be
there are some.
How does this work on a secular? If the formula involves a higher power, how does it work? How do you translate?
I wouldn't necessarily think the steps. Like you don't use the steps and stuff like that. I think maybe more of a social network, a secular view social network would be very beneficial to a lot of people here on G+, dude.
I have to tell you something. A friend, I knew this friend of this guy who was an atheist. He went to AA, and they do have an atheist AA group. But I'm sure you all will appreciate this. He said all they did in that group was argue about religion. They never talked about alcoholism or support.
They drank it all the whole time.
Well, that is
it was so funny.
Maybe that's all that's needed, though, a good distraction with other people who are also struggling with the same addiction, and you don't necessarily have to talk about your addiction the entire time.
Yes.
No, he didn't say it was a bad thing. No, it was kind of funny, but there are secular recovery groups. They really don't have a lot to do with the AA formula, and there are some actually who take the approach of it's not all or nothing. It's a good thing to cut down on your drinking, and some of them coach people in that regard to teach them to drink moderately. So it's not an all or nothing thing. So there are different approaches, but it's really hard to find. They're not nearly as prevalent as AA, and AA they get referred to by the courts, which is to me they get around the church-state separation for some reason, but.
Think about this, Jeff. Okay, you stop doing drugs or drinking, okay, and you are you have no ability to cope with your emotions whatsoever, and then you get led into a group that is very accepting and they'll tell you that you can deal with these emotions very easily as long as you listen to what they tell you. It's very much like a religious kind of experience.
Well, the thing is, they tell you that the only way to deal with your emotions is to give it up to God or give it up to the higher power.
Yes.
Yeah, let go and let God.
That doesn't fly.
Let go and let God, yeah.
Yeah, I had a very hard time.
Very, very dangerous. I think it's as dangerous as saying you are powerless over your addiction.
Well, they do say that. That's one of the major things they say in it, over and over and over and over again. I think it's part of the
indoctrination.
That's the main thing. Another thing is almost all the meetings that you find out there for like NA, AA, any of those 12-step things are taking place at a church too.
Right.
Not all of them, but most of them.
Okay, Jeff, you said something about it's a violation of separation of church and state.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I agree with Jeff finally.
A broken clock is right once a day, huh? Yeah, it is because it is definitely a religious. It's a thinly veiled religious organization. I've been to Al-Anon meetings and stuff like that, so I know a little bit about it, and it's they don't say God explicitly, but it's about a higher power and this and that, and it was originally founded under a religious rubric. I don't really have that much problem with somebody being ordered
to sober up.
Well, I do, but but in terms of, I mean, that could be one of many, but I think secular recovery groups should be just as eligible, but there aren't that many of them. Is part of the problem. But there are a few. I can't remember what they're called offhand. But
here's the problem with AA. They don't work. It's
Yeah, their success rate is horrible.
AA doesn't work.
No, it's worse than not having any program whatsoever. People that just go on their own have a higher success rate than AA
AA doesn't work. How long has AA been around?
Forever.
It's been around. Their
And it doesn't work?
Their success rate is horrible. Yeah.
It has a horrible success rate. It doesn't work.
The success rate is
yet we
less than
still
1%.
maintain it.
Right.
Oh, guys, come on. AA has to work. That's why we keep it going. I mean, what is the reason of keeping it going if it doesn't work? Political reasons?
Hold on a second. Well, I have a story about that. Yes, AA does work as far as I've seen.
AA does work.
Yes.
It's counterproductive, and I got a story. See, I went through a intensive inpatient PTSD program with the VA, and all of your counseling is geared towards you taking power back over your mental illnesses and building coping mechanisms, repurposing your life, finding things that you enjoy in life, and building good habits and better coping mechanisms for stress and whatnot. And then at the end of the day, this dumb counselors wants everybody to go to AA, where you have to do the exact opposite and say, "Oh, I have no power." Fuck AA.
Fuck AA.
Yeah, there's an article in the Atlantic. I'll put the link up, but the success rate is about 5 to 10%.
What constitutes success? Like somebody never drinking again?
And who's
what
limiting that success?
Well, that's a fair question.
All right, as someone that's been to meetings a lot, and I had a lot of meetings in my 20s, the amount of lying that goes on in them in there is very, very high, and people fall off the wagon constantly, and they don't tell people about it. So those statistics are not right. My experience with it is that I saw a lot of people stay sober for 2 to 5 years off of AA, and then they would give up or leave, something like that. Or they would just straight up just end up like a couple days or something like that. Either you get involved in the program and you stay sober, or you don't. And usually the people that stick around for like 20 years and stuff, that's all that they focus on is AA. It's a lifestyle, It's like being in a religion. It's like being a Christian. You're part of AA. You got to go to meetings at least 3 or 4 times a week. Meet up on your social calls. Read out of the book. Talk about your feelings. Wah wah wah. All that crap. And people that don't do that constantly, when they're so used to it, they just end up drinking again.
Well, okay. How about this? You're in not a hangout, and there's a Christian from AA there. And he starts talking about how great it is, and then you're going to say, well, it doesn't work. See what I mean? You're sort of there.
Well, I maybe have a different approach to that than some people, but who am I to say what works for you or doesn't? I'm more concerned with what's true or false. But the success rate of AA is pretty low as far as what I've read, and there's an article that I put up there that discusses that in depth, but no, I don't want to ever say, if tea leaves or anything works for somebody. I don't want to say. Who am I to say that doesn't work for you?
Here's the thing, though. Success rates for compulsory sobriety are very low. Period.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, sounds right. Yeah, a lot of people are ordered into AA. They don't necessarily aren't there. That's actually a fair. That's actually a really good point, because a lot of people are ordered by the courts into AA who they're not necessarily there because they really want to quit drinking, but that's what they have to do to get their
It depends on
license
the
back.
area.
Yeah.
Like the outlying suburbs and whatnot has a lot more long-term sobriety than the inner city, just due to the fact that all of the I'd say a lot of the 90s and 2000s, people were forced into rehabilitation other than jail a lot of times with criminal activities and stuff, and it forced them into these programs and shit like that, where otherwise they could have got different kind of help. And what I've seen and heard from a lot of different people is that they just keep going in and out of the programs and end up being institutionalized or just not being able to function for themselves just due to the fact of being in these programs and stuff, and that they've end up hurting more people than they've actually helped.
I just can't see that, Lyrics. I mean, Pyong, are you there?
Yeah.
Okay, so like we're being told that programs are worse than the
Well,
addiction.
not all programs, but the way that the system is set up now, it's
Right.
kind of like jail, where they allow or they even encourage people coming back and stuff like that.
Does that make sense to you, Pyong, that the programs are worse than the problem?
I have very limited experience in it. I do. Two things occurred to me. One I'm probably on my own with, but the other one I've had experience people telling me about. The one that people have told me is that a lot of these county courts are now, they're initiating their own treatment plans. You know, if you get hit with a DUI or something, that you have to go to this county plan.
Okay.
And from what I understand with those are mostly ineffective and revenue generators. So that's really all I know about that. The other thing I'd like to say, though, that occurred to me was, you know, if I was going to go to AA or something, I don't think I would mind that they had this higher power stuff and the religious stuff. Whether or not that stuff is true is remarkably unimportant. There's probably some kind of utility in saying that you're a slave to your problem. I don't know what that would be. Maybe that you can't think, you know, that maybe they don't want you to think that you can control it. I just have one little drink and I'll be okay. I don't know what it is. But you know, if there's an existing program, I would probably go to it if I felt that I might get something out of it, try to get what I could out of it, and it wouldn't really bother me that it was religious, but
That's part of my.
I kind of agree with you in a sense, because it's kind of maybe a soft landing. So I forget what the drug is, but whatever the drug is to get you off of narcotics or whatever.
Methadone.
Methadone. Thank you. You know, methadone is. You don't have to be pro methadone, but if methadone transitions you from being an alcoholic, you know, obviously you would take that. But whether it's a long-term solution is another matter. And so I do get that, you know, if indulging in religion or fantasy or whatever is a valid treatment to get somebody from an addictive state to a non-addictive state, then I really don't have a problem with that. But as some have said here, it's presented as this long-term philosophy or this way of life thing, and people are encouraged to stay in it and to, you know, things like they say, like, you're always an alcoholic. Well,
yeah, that was the point I was going to bring up.
Yeah. You know, that's a really kind of weird way of looking at it in the long run. And my own experiences kind of resonates with me, because my really closest brush with addiction was cigarettes. I smoked through the late 70s to the late 80s, and when I quit, I don't think I could have quit if I had been in a support group and talked to people about it every day. I just had to forget about it. I had to make it not a part of my. I just had to stop doing it and stop thinking about it, and to change my behavior to get through that initial withdrawal stage. If I'd been going to meetings or wearing patches, I don't think I personally could have quit. I think I would still be smoking.
Well,
today.
Jeff, some people have tried that and cannot quit.
I know, and it's not for everybody. I'm just saying it resonates with me that being overly indulgent and self-indulgent about these things and constantly thinking about it beyond the period, you know, beyond the natural withdrawal period, it resonates with me that would not be a good way to go for a lot of people. And I don't mean to universalize my own experiences, but that's kind of how.
Yeah, I think
I had gotten involved in NA for like 2 years. It was from 2006 and 2007, and it took me 5 years to detox from that kind of recovery. And during that time, because they teach you to feel as bad about yourself as possible so you can give it up to God so you can feel better about yourself, instead of actually trying to build up your self-esteem in any sort of way. It's the opposite of building up your self-esteem. I almost committed suicide 3 times because of that damn program, and I have nothing but disdain for it.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's the issue I would have with those programs. It creates a terrible identity crisis because you are concentrating on the negative. Here you could be clean 5, 10 years, and yet you're still saying, I'm John and I'm an alcoholic, after
Right.
10 years, instead of, concentrating more on the positive side, or I'm empowered instead of I'm disempowered, and unfortunately Christianity is like Christianity does the same thing. It's
Yeah.
looking at I'm the sinner, I'm a sinner, I'm a sinner, I'm a sinner,
Right.
and
Yeah,
that becomes your identity.
Right. I mean, you do a bad thing and that's your fault, but if you do a great thing like conquering your addiction to alcohol, then we have to thank God for that. But he doesn't get any of the blame for any of the bad stuff that may have happened. So, yeah. This is a great conversation, by the way. I love
Thank you. Okay,
all
Rainbow.
bringing a lot to this.
Thanks. Rainbow, are you there?
I am.
Okay, please tell me, since you're our lone female participant, thank you, how does a female look at substance abuse and its solutions? Through programs or through tough love, what?
Definitely not tough love. I mean, not in the sense where, you send your loved one out to lay in the bed that they made.
Okay.
You have to want to quit. You can't make anyone quit. You can't force someone into a program. Even
How about this? You've got to want to get off heroin as much as you want it.
Well, you have to kind of get to a point where you start to hate yourself for your addiction, and that you're not even enjoying your addiction anymore. You're using it because you feel like you physically need it.
To me, the thing that needs to happen is you need to find a way to get a self-esteem so you don't feel that you need it.
All right.
Yeah, but there's a difference between feeling like you need it to cope with life and then developing a physical dependency on it. There are people that I have known who develop a physical dependency on alcohol where they can't function without a drink. Their tremors are so bad that they have to drink in order to function, and that's when they don't even enjoy drinking anymore.
Very good point.
I see.
Okay, let's bring up an example real quick. Sorry to interrupt, kids. That Seymour Philip Hoffman. Okay, that was a tragedy. Okay, he had his own apartment. I don't know what they found, like 300 bags of heroin. You guys know who I'm talking about, the actor who overdosed last year?
Yeah.
Okay, to me, in my mind, it's like the immediate solution to that would have been, like, before, of course, he stuck the needle in his arm, to just take him someplace out in the forest and just isolate him. I mean, you have to isolate those people from the substance and from the people that enable him. What do you guys think? Is that wrong?
I don't know.
It's depending on the drug and what exactly, how old they are, stuff like that. A lot of variance, but yes, if it's your first time and you're probably like a hardcore heroin user for 20 years, you should probably take a couple months off in a recovery place and get your body straightened out.
To dry out, cold turkey.
Yeah, it's very hard for heroin addicts to dry out without use of a hospital facility.
Okay, yes, that too. I don't know. I mean, the reason I bring up tough love is because, in a way, I think cold turkey does come under tough love.
Well, you can die from the process. So that's
yes, you can.
Same with alcoholism. You can die from withdrawals.
Yes, that's a good point.
How about, isn't there studies about even taking ayahuasca has been shown to maybe cure people of addictions? Is anybody hear about this?
I haven't heard of that.
I've heard of that.
Ayahuasca?
I honestly don't believe it. I think it's just a drug, just as many as any other one, and people can take the experience any way they want. You know what I mean? But I think that's kind of like a marketing ploy, maybe.
Apparently, you experience ego death while you're on it, and I don't know if I would say that it's a marketing ploy because it's not a business.
You can do that off mushrooms, though.
You can.
Okay, just Rainbow, for the sake of our audience, could you explain that ego death?
Ego death? It's basically when you've lost your sense of self. You get to a point, and you don't even need drugs for this. It's sometimes even people who deconvert from religion experience a type of ego death. You basically don't know who you are anymore after you've shed things.
What do you think, Kiz? Makes sense?
That's hard to answer.
Did you have any ego death?
I did
have.
myself.
I know exactly
Well,
what
I mean,
you're
when
talking about, dude.
okay, what is the specific question?
What is ego death?
All right, so like you know how we view reality, our cognitive senses, how we normally view reality. When you experience a loss of ego, it's almost like you get into a space and time where those perceptions have no meaning at all, and you kind of get lost in almost a sense of timelessness, we'll just say. And as you experience this, you can't recognize yourself as you. You recognize it as nothing almost. There's no sort of labels that you put on yourself, and when this happens, you're allowed to explore unknown territory in your being. You know, like your thoughts and stuff, and thoughts come out a lot clearer because of the fact that you don't take any sort of validation in your ego because it's gone, and that process allows you to take a look at like various things in your life that you wouldn't normally take a look at.
Did you say God?
No, not at all.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I misheard.
Well, I sent the invite out to Frank. I hope he can come in. Kids, did you have any feeling like that?
Well, I'll be honest. There was just a moment where I was looking at a response to something, so I lost a little bit of what had been said that brought this up in the first place. Are you asking when I became an atheist, or are you asking, or are you just asking about an ego death in general? Have I experienced that, or what?
When you were in AA, you said that they reduced your ego down to supporting the God concept, right? In order to boost it back up?
Well, the thing is, I never connected with the whole thing of the God, so all it was tearing me down.
How far did they tear you down?
Happened, and so, huh?
Did they tear your ego all the way down to where you experienced ego death?
It wasn't even ego death. It was just a thing of I felt like I was a shit person.
Yeah, he said self-esteem. Ego death is different than ruining someone's self-esteem.
Okay.
I mean, my self-esteem was shot worse than it ever could have possibly been.
Okay.
With that, I had no confidence, no self-esteem.
Do you know anything about the 12 steps, Bunto? Like what the actual process is?
No.
All right. Well, what happens is you have to. There's 12 steps, and I don't even remember all of them, dude. But the processing of it is, in layman's terms, is that you have to come to the acceptance that there is God and that it's a part of your life, and you cannot progress any further in the process. You have to realize that there is such a thing as something outside of yourself. And then you write down a list of every single misdoing that you can possibly think of. And you separate the action from the feelings, and the feelings from like actions that you did afterwards, like, you know, and you end up coming up with your thought processes and how you, if you do it, it depends on how far in depth you go and how far back and stuff, but it's kind of like a processing tool to recognize emotional states and stuff like that. And then after you comprise this list, you have to talk about it with your sponsor and stuff like that, and you
That's
go
incredible.
over this. But you get into deep shit, dude. So like the really tough things that you need to talk about, you talk with another person, and then once you're done doing this, you pray to God to take away these sins forever and to cleanse me in your holy Jesusness. And then after that, it's pretty much the last remaining 4 steps are an act of repentance and coming back to society to better further yourself through the program, blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
So it's
Brainwashing
pretty
work.
much it's like a self-help book, but it's involving God.
Yeah, and the thing is, if you're already if you're like me and you already are someone who is constantly looking at the things that you may have done bad and analyzing that already,
right?
And then you got some program telling you, well, that's the only, you have to just focus on that. I mean, it destroys you. If you're already someone who does that sort of thing already and tries to take note of what you've done so you won't do it again, you know, it destroys you. That program is just fucking destructive for some people.
Sounds like it.
Yeah, it
Definitely.
is. There's other things that I'm not involving or I'm not talking about because they're personal, but like I've tried to have like some sort of religious experience through it, and I have a couple weird stories that I don't feel like telling on air, but there is something to it if you're willing to put forth the effort, you know?
Okay, well, just to dovetail it back to what Brojo, what is ayahuasca? Did I pronounce it right?
Ayahuasca. Yeah,
Ayahuasca.
I think you get from mushrooms or it's a plant.
It's a
Basically,
combination of two plants. It's
yeah, in
uh,
Peru,
yeah.
right?
It's like a root and a leaf, and you mix them together, and you boil them together for like a day or something like that, and you
Is
have
it
to
a
extract it.
hallucinogenic?
Yeah, it's a hallucinogenic. It's supposed to be like almost like DMT, I guess. It's like,
Yeah.
but it's found in nature.
Hmm.
Well, I mean, okay, so you expand your mind, get you off substances abuse? That's interesting to me. I mean, is this a mind expansion hallucinogenic, or is this, I mean, what's the purpose?
I heard all you do is shit and puke everywhere, and then after
Yeah,
that,
it's like peyote. It sounds to me like peyote.
I don't feel like shitting myself to get right, I guess. I don't know. It
Well-
doesn't seem like it's kind of cool to me.
I mean, who offered this? I mean, where'd you get this information from, Brojo?
Somebody mentioned how for them that it was life changing in far as
Seriously?
not so much as their addiction, but they were just looking for direction in life, and it helped them to it was life changing for them to make certain decisions in their life. Even ex Frank ayahuasca led him to further his education and to become a therapist. Cerberus will tell you that either ayahuasca or DMT showed him a path to go be a fireman.
Incredible.
So
Okay, well, let me.
it kind of gave a life direction. And then when I was doing some reading, apparently it kind of opens up your consciousness in a way where you don't need these addictions, and people have just been shedding the addictions. I have to look further into it if you want stats and everything like that. But
That's interesting. Okay, Lou, instead of going to substance abuse programs, we should offer people mushrooms,
I'm not.
expand their mind.
I guess that could help.
Well, I mean, can't you? If that was your choice, could you utilize mind expansion drugs to make people's lives better in a society?
Oh, well, yeah, Europe's testing psychedelics for treating all kinds of mental illnesses right now. They're illegal here in America, so we can't even do
put the
the
pharmaceutical companies out of business. So.
If people were cured, you would
There's
put.
also,
Go
there's
ahead.
also the use of ecstasy for certain things too, especially for PTSD, where one of the things about PTSD is that whenever someone recalls the memory, it gets worse every time. It emotionally gets worse and worse
I
every
can
time
see
they
that.
recall it. And what ecstasy can do if someone uses it therapeutically and not just to party, is they can look back at that memory in a way that's not quite as negative, and look back at it in a way, with different eyes, and then suddenly that memory isn't so catastrophic for them emotionally.
Traumatizing, yes.
um,
Does that make sense, Lou?
Yeah, actually, I was just going to add, I'm in therapy, and we talk about shit like that. Like, a lot of therapists are guilty of this shit, too, is they keep wanting you to bring up the traumatic experiences or whatever, and my therapist is like, that makes things worse.
Okay.
Because you're like the other guy said, you're just bringing the shit back up again, and you're not doing shit about it.
Okay. So I guess you could say to our audience people, if you do encounter somebody who's having problems with PTSD, try not to bring up the subject.
Well, you need in the therapy, when you first go in, you do the diagnosis, and then you do the trauma bullshit, and you go through all the shit you've been through, and then you start working on treating it, and you don't really go back to that shit.
Interesting. Anybody have any other thoughts? Okay, well, I'll take that as a no. We'll go ahead and move to the next subject. As you all noticed here, we have one woman in our hangout, one female. Rainbow, are you there?
I am.
Where are all the women in the Great Debate community? Where are these hangouts that are just filled with women?
I don't know. I mean, the women that I know just aren't interested in debating.
In boring shit?
Well,
Women
no,
aren't
well,
interested in
actually,
talking
you know
about the
what?
trade
Yeah.
for like 7 hours?
I hate to say, but a lot of the women I know They don't watch the news. They don't want to think about sad or depressing stuff. They don't want to have discussions that are in depth.
Well, let me ask the males here. Do you guys appreciate the viewpoint of the female in the great debate?
No, this has very much interested me because in my own life I have noticed this pattern that and the women in my life are every bit as intelligent as I am. My wife is, I think, can run circles around me intelligence-wise, but she would not be the least bit interested in having this kind of debate. And I don't think it's evolutionary. I think it's environmental, my own feeling, but I'm at a loss. I would love to hear why anybody thinks this is the case. But usually when you're talking about philosophy and stuff, it's a sausage fest. It's just men.
Sid, are you there? Sid, let me ask you: do you want women in your hangouts?
All
I
the
do.
time.
Yeah.
All the time. Yeah.
I'd love
I
to
want
see
only
them.
women in my hangouts, for fuck's sake.
I mean, do you have to go actively seek them out, or they just show up?
They never show up.
Why
Well,
don't they show up?
sometimes, one or two will show up, but not on a particularly regular basis. No one I could mention, all the time.
Yeah.
I'd say that there's probably about as many women that show up in the great debates as there are gay men. I don't find very many gay
We're
men.
all gay, aren't we?
Well,
Oh,
I'm just,
I thought we were all gay.
Aren't we all born gay and then we make a choice? To be
Right.
straight?
You're gay. Well, I mean, Kiss has a point there, because I know there's a dearth of LGBT in the great debate, but yeah, you do have a point, Kiss. I mean, it's not okay. What we're trying to do is not like manufacture a multicultural hangout, are we? I mean, we just like to have some representation of women. Gaytheist, yes, Jeff.
Gaytheist.
we need more gaytheists, right, kids? No, but I mean, do you guys feel like are we trying to manufacture a multicultural hangout if I'm saying we're all the women, we're all the gays, we're all the minorities?
Well, no, I think it's interesting to say that women are more than half of the population, and why they're so underrepresented in these conversations does seem to be a worthy point. I don't think it means we're discriminating against anybody, but the women in my life who are as smart, if not more smart than I am, are not interested in this kind of interaction. And I don't know if it's... I don't know.
Let's find out, Jeff. Rainbow, are we discriminating against females?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so. Not at all.
I mean, how can we get more women in here, honey? I mean, do we have to start like working out, getting
Make
our
some
bodies
place for
buffed?
them, for fuck's sake.
You can start by stop calling me honey.
Okay, that's right. Okay, you take offense at affection.
No, I think that there is a time and place for affection, and when you're having intellectual discussions, affection should be put on the sidelines.
Strangely enough, I believe in the LGBT society, affections are stressed in all situations. What do you think, kids? I've noticed that.
It's
affection is
not all the time. No, there's
not all the
sometimes-
time. I mean, there's a proper place, but on the general, I'd say affection is welcomed.
It depends on the type of affection.
Okay, honey. All right. The thing jumped in my mind there. Yes, you're right, kids. It depends on the type of affection. Okay. All right, but you have a point, Rainbow. You have a point.
It implies that I'm sweet and sensitive and maybe not assertive.
You're right. But it was just out of habit. Sorry.
I know. I know.
But yes, I noticed in the LGBT that there is an emphasis on open affection between LGBTers.
So let me just throw this out here. I don't know if this means anything, but men have deeper voices. Does that and not all men do, obviously.
That's interesting.
But does that intimidate women? I've heard women talk in the past about some man's really deep and harsh voice. Do women, because they don't have typically on average don't have the same depth of voice, does that intimidate them in these kinds of conversations at all?
Not for me personally, no.
Yeah.
You don't like the timbre of my voice?
The timbre. Actually, I do like a low voice. Kids, do you like a low voice?
Yeah.
I thought you were going to, yeah.
Deep and raspy, baby.
Yeah, but I love it.
Only.
Well, Jeff, why do you bring that up? I mean, has anybody ever said your voice is too low?
No, I've just perceived it, and I know women who have high voices tell me. My wife has kind of a high voice, and she's. I think people treat her differently. She speaks to a lot of people on the phone and stuff like that. I think people kind of do treat her a little differently because she has kind of a high voice as opposed to a really low authoritative voice, which a lot of women have. But I think maybe this, I think it makes it a little bit harder for her to assert herself sometimes, even though I think she does.
Okay, well, let's. Okay, we can throw out voice, Rainbow, right?
Yeah.
Okay, how can we get more females in the Hangout? Rainbow?
Sorry, I couldn't unmute. I really don't know.
Pay them?
So yeah, pay them eventually. Tommy, are you there, right? Let's get Tommy.
It really is hard to be the spokesperson for your for millions of people in your gender. Yeah.
Well, I'm not. I don't speak for any woman except for myself, but
Right.
I don't know if there is a way to really.
Okay, yes, all right. If we were talking women's issues, Rainbow, wouldn't you say it's incumbent upon us to have a female representative in our Hangout?
I think it would, if they were talking women's issues, it would be great to have many women in the Hangout.
All right,
Yeah.
kids. Kids, if we were talking MRA and the new feminism, we need to have female representation, correct?
Certainly.
Well,
I
yeah,
would think so.
sure.
Well, I mean, is that what you've been striving for, or you just don't even worry about that?
Well, here's another thing I've noticed in my family situation. So I'll be having like a really I'll be talking to some other male family member, and we'll be having a really lively discussion about philosophy or politics or something like that. And some of the women in my family will be saying, "Will you two stop fighting?" And we're not fighting. We're just having a really passionate discussion about something, and we're having the time of our lives. And we're not fighting at all, but the perception is on the part of people who don't engage in this way is that we're actually fighting or quarreling, or that it's a really negative situation, whereas I think it's great to have a lively discussion.
That's a good point, Jeff.
It is a good point.
You made a very, very good point, and I'd like to add to that by I just realized something, that whenever in my past I have had heated discussions with people, I have been accused of being naggy or a bitch, and
Right.
that stigma might
Yeah.
keep women from being assertive and argumentative.
I can see that. Yeah,
That's interesting.
that is interesting.
Would you say on the
women
whole-
would tend to more avoid conflict?
I think because to avoid being called names like that, I think they might tend to want to avoid conflict.
Well, and it is a double standard, because
That
if a male does that, he's assertive and he's a alpha, and this.
Yes.
But when a woman does that, it's like, oh, who does she think she is?
I like a little sass, so it doesn't bother me.
Well, I've always been very attracted to outspoken women.
Yeah, me too.
Even since I was a child, but I don't think that's the norm, and that's a really good point. I think that makes a lot of sense, actually.
And women do it to each other too. So it's not just a man going,
No.
well, she's a bitch. It's if a woman is outspoken and just assertive, she will be called a bitch by other women.
That's terrible.
Yeah, I tend to like a more feisty woman too. You know, a little banter is fun. You know.
gotta have a little sass in the relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Okay, would we complain, all the males in here, if we had a bunch of those types of females come in and put us in our place? I mean, will we resort to the gender binary to put them in their place, or will we, listen to what they're saying?
No, I love it. I think it's fantastic.
I would enjoy that too.
And I don't think it precludes femininity. I don't think that
It's motherly, not feminine. You know what I mean? Like if someone has like the authoritative figure, like women have an authoritative figure, it reminds me of motherhood and how you should listen to your mother and stuff like that. It doesn't necessarily turn me off. It just that's how I get it.
Now we've noticed in some debates, some hangouts, excuse me, other than this, where a male will put down a female. Should we immediately, stand up for her and go against that behavior?
No, don't white knight her.
Why?
Right.
Tell me why.
If she is a strong, assertive female, she will do it herself.
It's condescending. Yeah.
Really?
It's a little bit condescending, yes.
Okay.
When I get white knighted, I understand and I appreciate the sentiment behind it, but I would prefer to handle battles like in a comment section.
Right. Well, Rainbow,
I would prefer it on my own.
What happens if nothing is said after that?
What do you mean?
Okay, Rainbow, here's a hypothetical, and I've heard that this has happened to somebody else, that, you have a theist who flies off the handle and calls you the C word, right?
Right.
Now, I'm there present, so I'm not white knight, or as you, characterize it, I'm not to say anything about him calling you that?
I guess you could do what you want, but I mean, I have a weird habit of when I get into a discussion with someone, especially in a comment section, if they call me names, I don't even pay attention to that. I act as though I didn't read that part of their comment. Because it's irrelevant.
Hey, Kiz, are you there? How does that strike you?
It would depend on the situation, the woman, I think, sometimes.
Yes.
I mean, some women, especially if you're in a relationship with a woman and, and she gets demeaned by someone, sometimes it's expected of the man to stand up, for her. Sometimes not. I don't know, but I think it really depends.
Yeah, I sort of see what you're saying, but as far as like somebody swooping in and trying to rescue you when you're capable of doing that. That also happens a lot, though. I've had it happen to me where I've been like the lone libertarian or whatever, and everybody's just like peppering me with questions, and somebody even they'll perceive me as the underdog, and they will come to my defense. So it's not always gender based, but I can see where it would be in some situations.
Ganging up on someone is different than when you're just defending someone. When it's one-on-one and you come in to defend someone else who is, if you can tell that they're capable of handling their own, then it's a one-on-one basis. I personally
you're white
don't
knighting.
like it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then you're white.
I actually had a weird situation just recently. I had my wife was outside the house. A friend of mine came to pick up my mother, and I don't know, I wasn't there, but he got upset with my wife because for some reason she didn't help my mother, even though my mother didn't complain to get, because the pathway was a little bit icy, and he had some words for her, and she mentioned this, and I'm like, I'll go say something, I have no problem. And she didn't want me to. I was like, okay, but I'm more than happy to go have a couple of words with him because I don't think it was right, because I know his personality. He's got this domineering personality and his thing with women, so, but she didn't want to, so I respected it,
Okay, how about this, guys? I know she just left, rats. Okay, if somebody specifically calls somebody I'm glad you're back, Rainbow. If somebody calls somebody specifically an epithet, like I said the C word, let's say somebody is in a hangout and calls Rainbow the C word, it's for her to respond, right? There's no white knight required. Okay, but let's suppose I'm. Okay, but let's say I'm. Okay, but let me finish that. Let's say I'm in a hangout with Nadia, and there's some theists who blast just her being LGBT, then I can jump in, and say my
shouldn't.
piece.
You shouldn't, dude. You
No,
shouldn't white knight
but you see,
anyone.
that theist is not attacking her personally. He's attacking just her members. He's attacking LGBT in the whole.
Well,
It
you
depends on what they say.
could weigh in on that and say that's a cheap shot, blah de blah. But Nadia can definitely handle that situation.
Yeah, if you can't handle yourself, then you don't deserve me sticking up for you.
No.
Oh yeah, of course,
I
dude.
would
If you're gonna let people walk all over you, then let them walk all over you.
Not everybody.
I would prefer it if somebody maybe just like tap me or put their hand on my shoulder and just said, "Go get him, Rain."
Okay, yeah, to encourage you.
Yeah, encourage me, but don't stand in front of me.
Okay, somebody who attacks you, you would not prefer a white knight, but somebody who attacks your female, then everybody can stand up, right?
And you are, by protecting her, you're weakening her in a way.
Oh my
Exactly.
God!
Yes, Bunto. Yes.
Weird thinking, I guess. Okay, I was thinking.
Yeah.
Pyong, are you there?
No. It would be like if you said.
I sure am, buddy. Go ahead, Jeff.
Like if I was making one of my arguments that some people think are crazy, if I were making one of my arguments and you were saying, "Oh well, Jeff, he means well, he's a great libertarian or whatever," that would weaken me. That would not help me in any way make my argument. And I can see from the perspective of I could see where that kind of white knighting would be destructive. Would diminish somebody.
Okay, Pyong, the whole white knight thing that we've been talking about, does it make sense to you? As being a lawyer, I mean, doesn't a lawyer advocate for his client?
Well, I don't, of course you understand that I don't practice anymore.
Okay.
But I personally don't have any problem. Somebody wants to come on my side, give me a hand. I'm totally cool with that. I got no problem with it whatsoever.
I can't see Jeff's point.
Are cooperative. What's that?
I can't see Jeff's point where it says it weakens you.
Yeah, I don't know.
Having solidarity.
I appreciate their expression, though. I mean, if they're concerned with that, and they do think it's going to weaken them, okay, then don't do that. But me personally, I don't care. Somebody wants to get on my team, go ahead.
Well, but in a client, that would be a different situation entirely.
I'm not talking about clients. I'm talking about what we have been talking about. Somebody advocating on my behalf in some kind of social.
I was actually disputing more what Bunto said. No, I wasn't disputing what you were saying.
If there's a group of people on my case, then I appreciate the backup.
Right.
Yeah. No, I got no problem with what you said, Rainbow. That's totally fine. If that's the way you want it to be, then that's the way you want it to be. Me, I don't care.
So
okay, but how about this?
I think it's about the situation. I mean, I don't know. I feel as a husband, it's part of my duty to protect my wife. Yeah, can it be over?
That too,
you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Okay.
But that's your wife, Brojo. That's not someone on Google Plus.
But it would be my duty to try and protect my partner as well. I mean, because it's a loved one. It's different when it's
somebody you have a stake in.
Yeah, it's different when it's just like a discussion on the internet that probably gets too heated or goes too far. When it's someone that you love and care about, I think, male or female, you feel driven to stand beside or in front of your partner.
Now, the only thing I want to bring to your attention, Rainbow, it's if a person rises to your defense in a hangout, that person is not necessarily a white knight. Can you see that? That person just might have had it with what that other person was bringing to the conversation.
Yes. Yeah. I just use that as a broad term for just jumping in to defend someone. But there have been cases where I've had people jump in just because I'm.
The needle hit zero. You were the straw that broke the camel's back, and the guy just had it.
It seems to me like, if I understand the white knight concept, that an example of being a white knight would be to jump in and say, well, I think what rainbow really means is blah blah blah. Blah, blah, blah. Would be to sort of.
Would there be a negative context involved? Like, say that you would favor someone, go to their protection because of things that you think you'd get in response to it? Would that be considered white knighting? Like, all right, I'll go to Rainbow's behalf because I want to get on her good side and stuff like that. Would that be white knighting?
I don't know.
isn't that what white knighting is? Not necessarily coming to the defense of someone because she's a woman, but doing that to try and get favor with her.
Look, his.
That could be considered white knighting, I guess.
Well, I'm confused as to what white knighting is, because just sticking up for someone is it? There's nothing wrong with sticking up for Rainbow because someone called her a bitch or a c word or something like that. I don't really see that as white knighting. I just see that as trying to maintain some sort of protocol to the discussion.
Okay. I think that white knighting would be either to try and build up some bravado to get on someone's good side because you are attracted to them or you like them in some way.
Yeah, this would just be a case because of the sex, not necessarily like there are other means that you can white knight.
It could also be I don't think she's going to be able to handle this argument, so I'm just going to come to defend her.
But there's a part of degradation too. Like you see them as less than, or you try to get on their good side.
I've been on the internet since IRC. I was 14 years old. There's no degradation on the internet. No one can degrade me.
So it would seem to me like any kind of sort of support that would not be driven by honest agreement or sympathy with what you're saying would be white knighting.
Because you would want to appear to that person that you are the white knight, the person that will come in and save the day for you. Of course, that person is granted favors because of his greatness.
So if I would say if you were like a 70-year-old Asian male, I would not be extending this same courtesy to you or agreement.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
That would be.
It's so hard to explain what white knighting is because I know it when it happens.
Right.
You just know it when it happens. You know?
Kiz, are you there? Kiz, are you there?
Yes.
Does the LGBT community have this white knight concept going? I don't see it.
Probably
I just don't see it.
I'm not seeing it either.
It probably has to do more with reproduction.
If we're in a hangout and somebody blasts Kiz just because he's LGBT, I'm there in a second. I don't even worry about white knight. To me, it's an attack on all LGBT.
It's a form of condescension.
How is that condescension?
No, if it's attacking an entire group of people, you can't white knight.
I know they're picking on him because he's LGBT. See?
Right. You're defending a whole community. You're not defending.
How is that different than somebody calling you a bitch?
Because they're not attacking all women just by.
Are you kidding? They are attacking all women.
It's the motivation involved, all right? Because that standard that you're using, you're saying all gay people are being affected. That's a standard by which we hold society to. So that would not be considered white knighting. That's not like.
We have different metaphors for the different genders. We call men dicks. We call women, bitches.
They call us fags. Sea suckers. I mean, I just don't see it. I just do not see this white knight thing.
No, I see it, but I recognize that it is it's a gray area. It's not precise, but I definitely I know what she's talking about.
Hey, I thought all you atheists were about survival of the fittest, and all that stuff.
What?
Okay, well, let me ask you this, Rainbow. In a hangout, should there be a couple of women so they can support each other, or just a woman on her own?
I just say let it happen.
I don't think it matters what their genitalia is like for a good discussion. I really don't.
Well, not for a good discussion, but just to get these hangouts a little bit less sausagey.
I'm pangender, so I don't even consider it, except when someone makes it a point to, like you're a woman, so you're this, that, and the other.
Well,
I think
it's a breath of fresh air, Rainbow. Okay, go ahead.
I think what's important is to have a diversity of thought.
Yes.
Yeah, indeed. Right.
Oh, how about viewpoint? Diversity of viewpoint.
That's what we were talking about earlier. It was like we were talking about so many of these people who want diversity they want diversity of all these superficial things like our our genitals or our nationality or whatever, but they don't want diversity of thought. So let's have diversity of thought, and the hell with all that other stuff.
Well, when I'm in an intellectual discussion, I take off my sex organs and my skin color.
Why? Why? Why?
What do you mean? Why would I?
What's wrong with the gender?
Nothing. I'm saying when I'm in an intellectual discussion, my sex or race.
Why does your genitalia have anything? Bunto, why does your genitalia or your skin pigmentation?
Bunto.
I know. I think it's Bunto. Bunto. I think of the operating system. I'm sorry, but or the
yes. Okay, look, kids.
Yeah.
What's
but
wrong?
Anyway, but why does your genitalia have anything to do with an intellectual discussion about truth or anything like that?
Okay, who's Anita Sarkeesian? Who's that redheaded woman who's screaming all the time?
She's just known as Big Red.
Big Red. Okay, I'm going to stand next to Big Red and said, I love it, all of it, because you're a woman, right?
Well, I mean, if the subject is talking about genders and
that's
and
all she talks
sexes, about. I'm saying if those are the subjects being talked about, then yes, I think it's important to have diversity. But if those subjects are not what's being talked about, there's no reason to have any one particular gender or I mean, there's no need to have a diverse amount of genders. There's no need to have a diverse amount of races.
Oh, but
it's mainly diversity of thought.
Let's say we're going to have a discussion about Christianity, the religion. We're not going to mention that it's completely male-dominated. Is that what you're telling me?
Well, statistically, it's noteworthy if it's male-dominated, but if only the males are interested in discussing that topic at a certain time, then go with it.
All right. Well, it also depends too. Are we talking about the culture of Christianity, or are we talking about the logistics of belief in Yahweh?
Right.
Okay. What's wrong with...
Hold on, Bunto. Lou just dropped out. I know Fiction Fighter's outside. She was watching. She was waiting for a spot. So Fiction, if you're still watching, come on in here right now.
Oh, yeah, we need her back.
Yeah.
If women are invited and they don't come and only the men show up, then...
Yay!
No, not yay.
Why would they not?
No, I'm talking about
Fiction Fighter. The yay was for Fiction Fighter making it in.
I'll always respond with "See Kyle" when you finish.
Was I white knighting now, looking out for Fiction? Was I white knighting?
No, I mean that whole white knight thing just really banned me every way, man.
Or are they just being courteous? I mean, I don't know.
Anyway, okay, Fiction, are you there? Oh, she's probably warming up. Anyway, yeah,
Fiction,
Jeff,
congratulations, Fiction. You've been nominated into the League of Doom, right? The League of Doom,
yes, definitely, solid member. Well, okay, guys, what do you think? You want to keep talking up, female representation? Or you want to go on to the fourth and final subject?
Let's let Fiction get in there with the female representation.
Yes. Okay.
Legion of Boom.
Somebody needs to vamp on some more females then. My mind's a blank. Pyong, can you vamp?
Yeah. Do what now? Vamp? What does vamp mean?
Okay. Listen. Why should people take off their gender when having an intellectual discussion? Does that make sense to you?
Oh, I don't know. One thing that did occur to me, if I might answer the question that I wish you had asked.
Sure.
There are a lot of girls on the other team. You know what I mean? Like, three of my favorites, in order of importance, Hermine, Michael Ann, and Fiona Roberts.
I love Fiona. I don't like
me
Michael
too.
Ann.
Yeah.
Michael Ann has blocked me.
Oh, Michael Ann. Please, Michael Ann, don't do that. But I like Michael Ann. Big fan.
I like Michael Ann, too.
Oh, she's a riot.
She's the Fiction Fighter for the theist.
That's right.
He doesn't like
No, he's not.
So let me ask you, Pyong, so we counter their female with our female. That's what you're saying?
Nope. No, but they have more.
Oh, okay. So
Don't
that's
they?
it. I'm a theist.
I mean, isn't that what we're talking about here? I mean, we're counting, right?
Well, I
now-
haven't taken the inventory yet.
Yeah. So no, I mean, yeah, I like fiction and rainbow too, but just saying, the other team's got some. Got more than we do.
Okay, Rainbow, do you take it upon yourself to confront them?
I'm sorry, what?
To confront the other females?
Oh,
on their side?
I don't look at people's sexes. I confront anyone I think is wrong.
Okay, but I mean, do you take any delight in either sex confrontation?
I'm sorry. Can anybody hear me? Because I can.
hear you.
Oh, we can hear you.
Honey, I can feel you.
What's going on in here?
I can feel you, honey.
What the fuck? Can anybody hear each other?
Yes, we can.
This is hilarious.
Okay, Fiction, have you been listening?
I do take delight, though.
Wiry.
I take a lot of delight, though, in whenever. A lot of times when I get into a heated intellectual discussion in comment sections, I'm called he a lot.
Right. Okay,
You
so.
guys sound like robots.
No.
Really?
Yeah,
Really?
weird.
Crappy internet.
Really?
Fuck. I've got
Okay.
excellent
I
internet.
am a
So,
alien empire. Ta, 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 ta.
So we were talking about
talking about?
I'm
Okay,
gonna
go ahead,
refresh.
It's going to
we were
Okay.
talking about white knighting earlier.
Oh,
I don't-
she left, Jeff.
She's probably hitting F5.
Rainbow. No.
Yeah, they assume I'm a he, I think, because I argue with such veracity.
And do you correct them?
No.
So
I don't care.
I just wanted to say. I'm sorry. I just wanted to say about white knighting that I don't think intellectual discussion is the best example of where that occurs, although it probably does. But I had a acquaintance of mine a few years ago who kind of had a thing for a girl in our office where we worked, and he was really convinced to the point of obsession that he could. This girl had made really bad choices in her relationships and was having a lot of problems, and he really felt like this girl who was way out of his league, he could swoop in and just rescue her from all this and give her this, this great life that she could not have achieved herself.
Okay.
And I think that's a more dramatic example of white knighting, whereas
Yeah.
and I've seen this before where certain men have an idea that they can swoop in and rescue some woman from their bad choices or whatever, or maybe not bad choices, but just whatever choices they thought were bad, and that's to me a more dramatic example of white knighting. But I think it happens also in more subtle cases as well, like in Google Hangouts and what have you.
Fiction, are you there? Fiction, are you there?
Does anybody agree or disagree with that?
I'm trying hard, Rainbow, really.
Oh, it's okay. I'm just giving you a hard time.
Oh, why does she keep coming in and out? Okay, honey. Fiction. Are you there? Can you hear me? No, poor thing. We're all waiting on you, Fiction.
Hello, I'm back.
Yay! Have you been
Hooray!
listening to this conversation, Fiction?
I've been trying to, but when I came in the first 2 times, it just sounded like interrupted bleeps and of your voices. I could hear every other word, kind of thing. It's weird.
Oh, that's terrible. Does it sound better now?
It's a little bit better, but it's still in and out.
Did you restart your computer?
I might lose my spot.
Well,
That's gonna take
when
a.
G-Man comes in, we'll kick him out.
I tell you
What?
what, Fiction, if you want, I'll leave for you, buddy. If you need to get back in, if you want to restart your computer, and if you don't have a spot, I'll leave for you, okay?
Yeah, I'll white knight.
Yeah.
Grading her, okay.
In Jesus' name, I pray.
Okay, I get
I need somebody to white knight. I need somebody to white knight for me right now, because somebody's in Xbox's room right now impersonating me.
No
They got
way.
my-
That's
Yeah,
terrible.
they got my icon up over there. What the hell's going on?
That's terrible. Get over
Yeah,
It might be Sokka.
Yeah, maybe Sokka's fucking with you.
Well, it would be a puppet's head or something like that, but it's nothing like that. It's the exact icon is here.
Okay.
It is. I'm watching it right now. It says Brother John on it.
Brojo.
Yeah.
Well, they got to get the voice. It could be Frank. That's the only person I know that comes close to your voice.
I don't know. I have a suspicion of who it might be.
Who could it be? Patrick?
So
I don't know. I didn't listen. I didn't listen in, but anyway, go ahead. Proceed.
I just had a really weird thought. I wonder if my defense of white knighting was not actually white knighting.
Oh, it most certainly was, Keller.
That's the thing about this whole concept. I mean, there's this minefield of political correctness, I believe. With
I know it is kind of weird, but I have heard I think it is a thing. I do agree that it is a thing.
Okay, how about this, Rainbow? If you are going to come to somebody's defense, you should start with a disclaimer.
No. I think...
Even though she is a woman and you did call her a derogatory term of a woman, I'm defending her not because of that. See what I mean? How politically correct that is?
I mean, it's weird. It's very subjective. It's kind of like when you hear someone that jumps in and goes, "Oh, don't call her names. She's lovely," versus stick to the argument, asshole. There's a difference between those two standing in front of me to say something. You know what I mean?
All right. You can tell. Okay, if a person comes to your defense, you can tell maybe they have machinations other than, what's the argument presented in front of them. Like maybe they're trying to score with you or something like that.
Well, it involves almost assuming their motive, and if they have a tendency to stand in front of you in other arguments, I would assume that their motive isn't merely just to argue back with that other person. It's to defend me.
That's a good point. Hi, Lindsay. Welcome back. Hope you're doing well.
Hi, Lindsay.
I know.
Nice to see
Nobody
you.
ever said.
Hello.
Hi. How you doing? Have you been listening to the discussion?
No, I just got home.
Oh, you did? Okay. Well, we're talking about how valuable
you haven't
women
missed anything.
women are. Thank you, Jeff. We're talking about how valuable women are in the great community we have here, great debate community. Do you think so? That the female voice should be represented more in our hangouts?
What does it matter what voice we have or what gender we are?
Amen.
Okay, so it doesn't matter what gender.
Agreed.
Okay, so when we look at businesses that are only hiring males, we shouldn't, rely upon, workplace equality or anything like that.
Oh, if it's the Chippendales.
It's pretty loaded, Bunto.
Well, I mean, that's what came to my mind. I mean, it's sort of like, well, we really shouldn't worry about gender. Our hangouts are 99% males.
Are you asking whether or not we should set quotas for businesses?
Well, what I'm looking at is that, boy, we have an imbalance of too much male, too much, to use the word sausage in the hangouts. Should we strive to bring in more female? That's what I'm talking about. See what I mean?
So you said more sexy guys on cab. Do you think that'll attract a Bunto?
I have no idea.
How do you get women to come in here and talk about things and argue with each other?
Well,
Most
Brojo,
women don't like to argue at
the
all.
ultimate answer is paying them, I think.
You know what? I think, if everyone's invited and it happens that only males show up,
right?
That's really interesting, but I don't think there's anything nefarious about it.
I don't either.
Really? Okay. Well, how come... If we did take a census of the great community and found out there was like over 90% male, what would your analysis of that be, Rainbow?
It would. I think that it still has something to do with culture seeing women that are argumentative as bitches.
Okay, so the gender binary works against women there.
Well,
I think socially, but not in the hangouts in particular.
What do you think, Lindsay? Is that true?
I just thought of the song by ICP. Bitches, what the fuck? Are you gonna talk to me?
Juggalo.
That's all that came to my mind from that statement. I'm sorry, I don't think that women are referred to as bitches in society.
That's a good point. Thank you, honey. Kiz, what's your thoughts on that?
On the word bitches or what?
Yes. Is it always considered a pejorative? Not an LGBT.
No, not in the LGBT, but generally for. Well, I mean, there's some people who will self-pronounce themselves as a bitch, and they'll say it as a positive.
Gee, I wonder who.
A gay person.
Oh, okay. What I'm trying to say is that
I've seen women. Hasn't like what Sandra Bernhardt or something? Hasn't she sometimes do that?
Where has she
Women
gone?
do refer to themselves as bitches. I've heard that before. Maybe it's just it's a cultural idea, you know. Someone that.
Yeah, but you know what?
It's kind of like saying like queer or using the N-word.
No, bitches denotes who's on bottom. That's the way the LGBT use it.
I would say the same context applies no matter what it's used for. It would assume that you're in a lesser role. You know, you're it assumes that the person saying it is
totally
more
wrong.
dominant.
No way, that's completely.
I disagree with you, Bunto, on the on that being the way that it's always used in the gay community. Some men who
the majority.
Some guys who just have a lot of attitude and they're kind of feminine. They're like, well, I'm a bitch. And that doesn't mean that they're a bottom. That does not mean they're a bottom, because sometimes they can say they're a bitch and they're a total top. So I mean,
okay, well, you know, we can have this discussion between ourselves.
And
if we go to any gay club and yell out, "Okay, bitches stand over here, tops over there," that's what they're gonna do.
And
You ever done that before, Bunto?
No, I need to do that because I just do not believe what Kiz says. I mean, it's just bitches denotes bottom.
And men even use the term like I'm bitching about this or that.
Oh yeah, I mean, but the thing is, I've noticed on G+, if you do say bitch, it's mostly taken as a pejorative. You know, people won't understand. You know what I'm saying, what other LGBT is saying. It's like it's not a pejorative.
It's not a precise term. It is.
Well, in LGBT, it does have precise meaning.
Oh.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does.
Nope, sorry.
Yes, it does.
Can't you guys just agree?
Meow, lady, meow.
All gay people aren't the same, Bunto. We all view things differently.
Okay. Let's all go to a gay bar and yell, "Hey, bitches, stand over there," and see who's going to stand over there. And I invite all my audience members to, you know, if I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong.
It doesn't have any meaning in the LGBT community? I don't know.
No, it does have great meaning. You know, if you're a bitch, you're bottom. If you're top, you're top.
I've never heard that. Really?
No, oh, because you're not gay. Okay.
Well, that could be it. That could be part of it.
But anyway,
it's an attitude, and some people take pride in that attitude. It's not. It has nothing to do with whether you're a top or a bottom.
Okay, kids, that's just no way, dude.
It's kind of like how it's different when a woman refers to herself as a bitch, whereas if another woman goes up to that same woman and calls her a bitch, it's a different meaning.
Right, it's kind of like saying queer, or you know, people say queer, and it has a among themselves. You know, the people who say it isn't a problem, but
in the general, in the LGBT, bitch denotes bottom.
Right.
In certain circles.
In the general, kids. All right, well, I know. Okay, we talked about female representation. Let's go to our fourth and final subject. Is the Great Debate a TV show? Is it entertainment? Or is it, you know, when we watch these great debates, these hangouts, are we watching for the train wrecks, the car wrecks, or are we actually waiting for something to be taken away, that something that's going to have meaning? We go to a Nadia hangout. Why do we go to a Nadia hangout?
They're coming to take me away. Ha ha. Okay, sorry.
I watch the car crashes until something beneficial happens.
Okay, so you get the both of both worlds.
Yeah.
I mean, have you ever had? Of course, do you get mostly an edifying experience from these hangouts, or do you just watch what people say? You're watching the dramatics.
what people
I love
say.
these hangouts. These type of hangouts, to me, are the most beneficial.
Well,
Yeah, I like the train, wreck once in a while, but sometimes it just lasts too long, you know.
Yeah, like watching G-Man in anything.
Yeah, me neither. I can't. It's
Yeah,
torturous.
I like the Socratic method where you have people who have differing perspectives and they argue it out. So what I hope for is that being realized, and as far as there is a certain amount of drama to that, so I think that makes it more appealing and entertaining. So I think it's a good expression of ideas at its best, and we like the Socratic method to test those ideas. But
so it's more art form than education.
The drama, well, it doesn't at its best it could be all those things, but usually at its worst it's at least one of those things.
But pardon me just for a second. Fiction, if you're watching this, ping me to get in. I'll get out.
Okay, before you leave, Pyong, what's your take? Are you looking at the car wrecks, or are you looking to actually get something from it, a takeaway from the hangouts?
Neither. I'm here for the gags.
The gags, for the lulls.
Yeah, it's fun. We joke and we have fun. That's it. I don't get anything from it. It's not.
Have you ever gotten anything from it?
What?
Have you ever gotten anything from it? Like run into somebody who had a point, like an Ozymandias, who explained things correctly. Something that edified yourself.
He's learned a lot about libertarianism.
No.
No.
But I'm not looking for any. I'm not like seeking truth or anything. It's just
really
fun.
Okay. So you're not
exactly.
Eric,
What?
you gain friends, if anything.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It's for the gags. It's for fun.
He's learned a shitload about libertarianism.
Yeah, right. For what that's worth. What the fuck?
Pyong has many leather-bound books.
No, it is great. It's fun to hear people's perspectives, and you know what I like best? Right. I like listening to the conversion and deconversion stories, and I don't hear enough of those. But
conversion stories.
Yeah, I like conversion stories. I like to try and figure out maybe why somebody converted. But anyway, yeah. So that's that.
Well, anybody else? I mean, has anybody ever learned something from these hangouts? I have tons.
I've learned a lot from them.
I had a serious problem with white knighting until this hangout, and it just changed my mind.
Well, no, I mean, like, I've learned stuff from all of you. I mean, I learned things from hangouts.
Oh, I mean, yeah, certainly, I do. I mean, yeah, don't take me too seriously when I say I haven't. I obviously have, and it's been a very meaningful experience for me. But anyway, I gotta go.
Okay. Well, have a good night, Pyong. Thanks for.
Well, hopefully, Fiction Fighter will get in, so that's why I'm leaving. Bye.
All right. Take care, Pyong. Take care,
Have a good
Pong.
white night.
Pong.
Have a good white night, Pong.
Ping pong.
Okay. Well, has anybody else can't see any utility to these hangouts except for the lulls? I mean, it's.
Do you really think that we can all save your soul, Bunto? You think that's possible? Look at all the train wrecks in this hangout right now, man.
I thought the AA discussion was really good, and
Yeah.
It was.
You bring these thoughtful people all into the same place, and we all have really great experiences.
Okay, look, we were talking about bringing more females in here, but look, we don't have any theists in here.
Right, we don't have any Asians in here.
I'm a theist.
Oh, you're still okay. Thank you, darling.
This week,
we don't have any Asians here. We don't have any,
Well, okay, we don't have a strident theist in here.
I want to know, where are the Asians?
Right.
They already figured it all out, man.
That's a good one. Okay, come on, guys. Who's an Asian in our community?
I was talking. There was a gentleman last night, I believe, in a hangout. He was Asian. I don't know. I believe he was Chinese, but he showed his face on camera. I can't remember his name. Yeah, it was in Nadia's. Yeah, he was there. I can't remember what his name was. I'm probably
Was it
representing his
Jimmy? Is that
nationality.
Jimmy? Was he a theist?
I don't remember, but I remember that he was of the Asian persuasion.
Jimmy, is he Asian? I know who you're talking about.
Is he?
I don't think he is.
Okay.
I wouldn't
Maybe I'm
swear to it.
He was French Indian. Maybe I was
No,
confused.
no, I am.
Oh.
Okay, well,
I'm so
what
past
if-
that, bro. I don't even pay attention to people's stuff now.
I know.
man.
I don't either.
Okay, so let's say we get a hardcore theist in here like Nephilim, right? I mean,
You want to go to sleep or something?
not really. I was trying to polish that argument. I was
Would
like,
Nephilim be on Justice League?
oh my God, yes.
He would be the leader, dude.
Actually,
he would take the reins.
A target for the Legion of Doom. Okay, listen. I mean, okay, we get Nephilim in here. It's just the lulz. Are we going to learn something from it?
Oh no.
Well, if you want to learn how plate tectonics can be explained through Noah's Ark, bro, then you're all set.
We could all learn how damaging literal biblical belief is.
Okay. How can we help the theist add to, the takeaway? Like, instead of lulz, how can they edify us? How about that one?
How can we white knight them?
How can we teach them? No, really. I mean, is there a theist out there that really can add to us? I mean, add to our knowledge.
Adam Pugh.
Adam Pugh is the theist.
Adam Pugh is very
He could
smart.
come in here and talk and not have a problem, probably.
Okay, so we need more Adam Pughs.
Yes, Adam Pugh would be good. Probably others.
Now, is he a strident theist or just, he's never going to deny God? Is that what we're talking about?
You're never going to get a theist to deny God. They have to
Right.
do it
Well,
themselves.
that's what I meant. That's like the minimal line.
whatever,
A strident theist would be somebody like a Revelation News.
He's a Christian. He was raised Christian. He believes in that stuff. I don't see it as like something that I would use to not want to talk to them. You know what I mean?
Right.
But there are some people that are very preachy, and it doesn't appeal to me. But Adam's one of those types of people that doesn't necessarily have to preach to me in order to have a conversation with.
Okay.
Oh, please don't bring Matt Bell in here. He's insufferable. Oh, God.
I like listening to Epicurus Greek.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with preaching either.
I
but
think Epi has dropped off the radar. I heard.
Well, he has a new identity named Artie.
Really? Oh, funny.
When that's all your focus is preaching, you just turn me off, regardless of what your thing is. Even if you're an atheist and you get all preachy on me, like, get away from me, dude. It's all about, just accepting people and the presentation. Some people are fundamentalist atheists. Some people are fundamentalist Christians.
Okay, besides Adam Pugh, who else? Who's John Kay?
Fiona.
She's a theist.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, she's very smart. So Epi went from
Aaron B. Yeah.
Epi went to Jewish?
I have no idea. I just met the guy yesterday.
Oh, Aaron Voluntarius.
Aestus, welcome to the show.
Hey.
And Aaron is a great libertarian, I should mention.
Oh yeah, voluntarianism, that guy.
Yeah.
So Aestus, have you listened to our conversation?
I was listening a little bit, yeah.
Okay, what we're talking about now is the great debate just entertainment, essentially? Are we just watching the train wrecks or actually getting edified from it? What would you say?
Well, so I remember you guys a little bit earlier were saying if you feel that you get anything out of these conversations, and on a very topical basis, I feel yes, but on a like a deep, satisfying intellectual basis, not so much.
Okay. Is there any sort of theist that you believe adds to your knowledge generally? And who are they?
Which theist?
Yeah, which theist? I mean, if they call it the great debate, I know I'm here with all my atheist friends and we're learning. I mean, can I bring a theist in and get the same effect?
Right. I mean, some of them are pretty interesting to talk to. But
I've gotten
I mean,
a lot out of St. Tommy. I think St. Tommy's one of those people that I
Right.
can talk to about stuff like that. He's one of the types that's like is not very judgmental towards me. So like he allows me to open up more as opposed to other theists, you know. But that's an example just for me. I don't get like necessarily like I do talk to him about things that are new to me and stuff like that, like concepts that are a little bit new, but it's not necessarily like intellectually stimulating, but something about talking to Tommy for me puts me at ease. You know, I'm able to open up about him to other concepts that I wouldn't normally from another theist.
Okay. All right. Brojo corrected me. He says, yes, we do have theists and deists in the room. I guess you're right. But I was really, in my mind, I guess I'm thinking of the hardcore, Bible thumping theists. Could we bring them in and dialogue with them and have any sort of edification? That's what I'm really talking about. That's why I brought up Nephilim. Is there anything? Okay, does Nephilim have any substance whatsoever, or is this all a lost cause? Anyone?
I don't talk to Nephi because he doesn't listen. He just talks at people.
So it's a complete waste of time.
I think so.
Okay. I don't know. Who else is there? A big brain on the theist side. I guess no such beast exists. All right, crew. Well, I mean, let's go ahead and cadence on that subject. I'd like to thank all our participants for a really wonderful hangout. And I hope you all have a great weekend. Have a good night. Take care.
Oh, okay.
Bye-bye.